Guess what day it is? Huh? Hump Day!
Good morning, everyone, and happy Hump Day from the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis with Danny Mac and Matthew Rocchio. I'm Randy Carricker. Brooke is out today. It is great to have you with us. 7 o'clock, time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. By the way, second alert weather today. I don't know if you guys noticed when you got up, but you might want to put on some long sleeves. It is 47 degrees as we speak in St. Louis, Missouri. So, yeah, get the nice toasty small jacket on. How are you doing, Daniel?
I'm doing great. A little chilly this morning, but ready to go, man.
Hey, the Blues might not have been ready to go, but in the second half, we might suck for the first half of this show.
It was awful.
It was. The first half of the game was not great, was it?
It was awful. They erased a 2-goal deficit in a minute 55. So you take that, but the Blues were slow. They were sluggish. They weren't getting the pucks. Kyrou scores twice, and all of a sudden the game changes. And I thought the difference in the game was the skirmish. When you had the fight, and people don't want fights. Well,
everybody
maybe
wants
want
fights.
Some don't like it. I like it.
I chant, fight, fight, fight.
You don't get up and leave, do you? You watch.
Never.
So that was a key to me, was Walker and Toropchenko getting into a skirmish. Then all of a sudden the Blues turned it on, and it's a different story the second half of the game.
It was great. Vince Dunn scoring 27 seconds into the second period to break a scoreless tie. Tolvanen scoring for the Kraken at the 2:20 mark, and it did look really bleak for the Blues because they just weren't skating. There wasn't a lot of energy. And then, as Dan mentioned, the skirmish. Nadub gets into it with Vince Dunn, and everybody gets involved in it at the 13:42 mark with the Blues on the power play.
Kyrou brings it in. Score! Power play goal as Kyrou carried it wide, then tucked it 5-hole. And the Blues are on the board. It's 2-1. 6:18 to go, period number 2.
And that seemed to energize the Blues at the 15-17 mark. Philip Broberg with his first wearing the blue note.
Neighbors checked down by Schwartz, but he keeps the puck alive. Holloway floats it to Falk, over to Broberg. Shoots! Score! Tie game, 2-2. And the first is a blue for Broberg. 4:42 to go here in period number 2.
And then 20 seconds after that, number 2 of 44 this year for Jordan Kyrou.
Blues win the puck. Cleared ahead. Breakaway. Kyrou. 3-2 St. Louis. He scores!
That was pretty.
It was pretty, and I thought the key in the game was Jordan Binnington, too. I mean, we have Jordan Binnington playing the way that he did. That was, he was able to step up in that first period, and I thought that was a key because they weren't playing well.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you get, goaltending like that, that's the difference in the game.
Yep. So the Blues win it by a score of 3-2, and they'll take on the San Jose Sharks tomorrow night in San Jose before wrapping up their season-opening road trip in Vegas on Friday night. Meanwhile, MLB playoffs yesterday, the Phillies were dominant against the New York Mets. Philadelphia now taking a 2-1 lead in the series against the Mets. Sean Manaea was great for the Mets, who won it. The Mets win this one 7-2. Sean Manaea was great. He goes 7 innings, allows 1 run on 3 hits, walks 2, and strikes out 6. And Sean Manaea, who is a Midwestern kid, was sensational, and he was the story of the game. New York getting a run in the second, a run in the fourth, 2 in the sixth, and then 2 in the seventh, 1 in the eighth after the Phillies had scored a couple. And the final score was 7-2 for the Mets, who now lead that series. They can eliminate Philadelphia today with a victory.
6, 7, and 8 hitters are 1 for 31 in the series. In the lineup for the Phillies. I thought that was a difference in the game. New York has 6 home runs in the last 2 games. You think about slug and how important it is in postseason play. Slug is the key. If you hit home runs, they're winning 44% of the games in postseason play. So slug is the key, and I thought the other key in the game was the 6th inning. Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner get on with walks. Bryce Harper comes up. He's out on 3 pitches. Castellanos hits into a double play. That's the difference in your game.
So the Mets win it by a 7-2 count over the Phillies, take a 2-1 lead in the series, and they can wrap things up tonight. Meanwhile, the Padres edged the Dodgers 6-5. San Diego stepping up early after The Dodgers had scored 1 in the first inning. San Diego with a 5-run second. Dodgers came back on a Teoscar Hernandez grand slam in the third, and that was it for the scoring. 6-5 was the final as the Padres moved to within a game of eliminating the Dodgers.
So Fernando Tatis, 4 home runs in 5 games. There's your slug. And the other part was the bullpen that we talked about is San Diego. They retired the last 16 batters that they saw. And so the one thing that was interesting that's not reviewable, you can't review obstruction, you can't review interference. That was a key in the game. The other part was that Miguel Rojas couldn't turn a key double play in the game for the Dodgers.
Huge.
So when you don't play defense and you allow teams to have another shot at it, good teams take advantage of it, and San Diego did that. I got to wonder what happens to Dave Roberts if they don't win this game, and if they don't come back and win the series, and if they don't come back and show a little life in this series. Dave Roberts could be in trouble after all the winning that he's done in the regular season. Right. It's hard to believe for me.
And I wonder what direction they would go, because there have been rumors that he's been on the hot seat if they don't go to the World Series after the expenditures they made. Now, granted, Tyler Glasnow can't pitch. They have an entire starting rotation that can't pitch. They're TBA today. The Los Angeles Dodgers, who have 10 really good starting pitchers, are TBA today for Game 3 of a playoff series, Game 4 of a playoff series.
How does that happen?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
With the money they spend, it doesn't make any sense.
And by the way, Walker Buehler got credit last night, and if that game is on June 24th, and Buehler does give you 5 innings and he allows 6 runs after allowing all 6 in the second inning, Kyle Gibson did that a few times, during the season, and you give a guy credit because he's able to battle through and get you the innings and preserve the bullpen. At this time of year, you can't allow 6 runs in the second inning, especially when you're playing a team with the bullpen that San Diego has.
Momentum is a real thing. The hot teams right now, they get the wild card berth and they go on a tear. And that's the Mets, the Padres, the Tigers, the Royals have gotten the momentum, and they don't lose. And right now, you'd have to say that if you're looking at in Major League Baseball, what is the best way to go into postseason play? You're a wild card team, because you've been playing playoff baseball for a month, and these are the teams that are making a difference in postseason play.
So today you've got a host of games in both leagues at 2 o'clock. Cleveland will be at Detroit. Alex Cobb, who's been resurrected for the Guardians, will pitch against Johnny Holstaff for the Tigers. Philadelphia will pitch Ranger Suarez, and he'll be... And he was great this year. Didn't have as good a second half as he did the first half, but he's great. And he'll be opposed by the former Cardinal Jose Quintana. Quintana trying to pitch a clinching game for the Mets in the playoffs.
Can I go back to the Blues?
Sure.
What did you think was the key in the game?
Oh, or Jordan Binnington.
Yeah.
Yeah, Binnington.
I mean, he's
great.
The difference.
Yeah.
He looked like he was in midseason form.
Yeah, he always is. He's sensational.
Yeah, I thought that was the difference in the game. By the way, our prediction is took about 5 minutes into the game. Buchnevich moving to a wing.
We're not counting that one. We're not counting that one.
Yeah.
Mid-game changes will happen. It's the same thing like if we would have thrown out, how many games do we see Thomas and Kyrie on the same line? They're going to be on the same line mid-game here and there. The big question is, when does the JR tweet hit? Pre-game, 2 hours before pregame, and we actually see the line change of Shen, maybe it's a called up Bolduc, maybe it's a Holloway after he switches down from the first line. Shen's second line center. Pavel Buchnevich's first line wing. That's when the actual ball will drop on that prediction.
I
Not
gave
a
it 40
mid-game.
games.
Yeah, and that could your game 2 is still live. You're still live, Danny Mac.
All right.
I think it was maybe a little risky.
And then the other 2 games today, and these are, playoff baseball, postseason baseball. You are subject to the vagaries of pitching injuries. So the Yankees are pitching Clark Schmidt today. He'll be opposed by the Royals' Seth Lugo. And, oh, by the way, Kansas City with a chance to take a lead in that series at home against the Yankees. And then tonight, the Doyers are also undecided, and they will be opposed by a guy who is decidedly pretty good, Dylan Cease.
I want to go back to the Phillies and go back to what they've done with runners in scoring position and 6, 7, 8 hitters in their lineup. 1 for 31 in the series. With a lineup that was built on slug. Alec Boehm, they sat him for a little bit and then got him back into their lineup. He saw 5 pitches and 4 at-bats. I mean, when you do that, you're not gonna win. And I also thought that the Phillies stuck with Nola and Alvarado a little bit too long. Rob Thompson has been very good. He's pulled the right strings for the Phillies, but that was not one of them. So it's not only the slug that's missing, but also the pitching. They need pitching, and they're not getting it out of two of their big guys, one out of the bullpen and the other one being a starter.
And in a 5-game series, if there's a chance that you're going to go down 2-1 and put yourself in a position where you have to win 2 in a row, especially Alvarado. I thought Nola, I was okay with that because he's given you length before and has pitched effectively. And he actually, last night when they left him in, getting out of it at the end, Alvarado just didn't have it.
And you got to have depth some way, somehow, and it just seems to be last man standing once you get to this point in postseason play. And that's where the Phillies are. That's where the Dodgers are. I don't understand it with the money that they spend. It's just surprising to me to see that you're having TBA and you're having guys that just aren't ready to go in postseason play.
It's incredible. And the bullpen games are going to be a part of today, no doubt.
636. Interesting that Schilt's contact hitting Padres went 2 of 4 with runners in scoring position with only 4 strikeouts. Polar opposite of the Cardinals all year.
I'm not surprised.
By the way, a little box score fun here. This is insane. There were 12 hits and 11 runs scored in the Padres and Dodgers game last night. The Dodgers were 2 of 3 with runners in scoring position. They left 2 runners on base. And the Padres, again, were 2 of 4 with runners in scoring position, and they left 3 runners on base. In a game where there was 11 runs scored, that has to be one of the lowest counts of hits, runners in scoring position, and players left on base I've ever seen in my entire life.
There are a lot of organizations that don't apparently care about fundamentals. Any organization where Mike Schilt is at the helm of the major league club cares about fundamentals. And it's those things, getting your bat on the ball with runners in scoring position, that allow you to win games. And Mike has much the same philosophy now that Tony La Russa had. Put yourself in a position where you don't lose the game, and inevitably the opposition will.
It helps when you have Fernando Tatis. I will say that. I mean, he's been just outstanding for them in this postseason. But I go back to fundamentals. Miguel Rojas couldn't turn a double play for the L.A. Dodgers. Fernando Tatis, 4 home runs in 5 games. You know, and they retired the last 16 batters. You got to have a bullpen in postseason play, and they've got that.
Randy, you know, everything you described there, Randy, it sounded a lot like a philosophy.
Yeah, but sometimes people have different philosophies.
Are we going down that road again?
Yeah, we are.
I mean, he described a very, it was very, A, B, C, Roman numerals, collated. It was very well written out, almost like it could be in a tiny little red book. And I thought it sounded like a nice philosophy for a baseball club. That's all I was saying.
Philosophical differences is where you're going.
You might have them if you are running a baseball team.
I think
I'm not sure why you would. Sounds pretty standard to me, but
if the manager wins the World Series 3 years after leaving another place because of philosophical differences, I think at the place where he left, that might be brought up.
The other part is, and you talked about it, fundamentals. They play fundamentally sound baseball. They do put the bat on the ball. There's got to be something to that. They've got the slug. Again, I've talked about nearly 50%. If you hit a home run, you're going to win the game. And if you get it from left-handed batters, that's the other thing. If you get it from left-handed batters in postseason play, that is a huge difference. And that's when you look at the Cardinals and you say, Nolan Gorman, what would you do with him? What if you get something right out of him? What if you get into postseason play? He makes a difference, could be a difference for the Cardinals. I don't know, man. It's you go with the fundamentally sound team, or do you go with slug, or have a combination of both? And that's what we're seeing in postseason play.
By the way, one note about Fernando Tatis, who has 4 home runs this season in 22 plate appearances. No strikeouts.
No strikeouts. Put the ball in play.
Yep.
Got a chance to win.
That's a slugger. It's a big-time slugger who hasn't struck out.
I look at, again, the reviewable play or non-reviewable plays, obstruction and interference. Do you guys agree that needs to be reviewable?
Yes.
I do, too.
100% of the time.
Yeah. Because some sharp players do it on purpose.
And we saw that last night.
Yep.
And they threw it away. Miguel Rojas not turning a double play. You talk about fundamentals. Dodgers didn't have it. They lose the game.
Yep. Hey, by the way, the Arizona Cardinals are in action this weekend against the Green Bay Packers. Go Big Red.
I have never seen you wear a hat to our show, and you're wearing a Cardinal hat. That's the first time I've seen that since we have been doing the show. What made you do that?
Well, a couple of things. Number one, I got the cap. Number two,
but your hair looked perfect.
Oh, I have a brush, so it'll be fantastic.
Okay,
we'll be fine. But yeah, I just wanted to, with you here, I wanted to be wearing a cap with you.
I don't think I've not worn a cap since we've been doing the show. That's almost a year.
That's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Pretty impressive. Hey, it's Wednesday, and that means it's Ask Uncle Randy Day. All you need to do to participate is text in 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. That is our error.
Yo-ho.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
No problem.
Appreciate that.
Happy to get it in.
Good. That's our text line, and we'd love to have the Air Comfort Service text line, by the way, and we'd love to have you participate. Any questions? This is our first below 50-degree morning, so times they are a-changing in the Lou, and if you have any questions about what's going on, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be in St. Louis to ask Uncle Randy, because a lot of times you have uncles in different places. If you are in New York, if you're in Philly, if you're in Phoenix or L.A., you can still text in and ask your Uncle Randy question, and I'll have an answer for it next on 101 ESPN.
question for Uncle Randy? Let him dive into his infinite well filled with wisdom to find you answers. Text 314-399-9646. It's Ask Uncle Randy on 101 ESPN.
I've been around, you know.
I have been around. Uncle Randy with Uncle Dan and Cousin Matthew. We're all here, and we've got questions to be answered, and we've got answers for you. All right, Matthew, take it away.
Dear Uncle Randy, my son's club hockey coach has asked him to switch from forward, which he has played since he was 5, to defense. He is very unsure of himself, and he is not excited about switching positions, but in his first 2 games, he's played really well. What do I say to convince him that he has to at least continue to give this a shot?
Well, it's good that he's played well, and the thing to say in youth sports, this was an old Mike Matheny-ism, the coach is always right even if he's wrong. And if the coach decides at a youth level to make that move, he, as a youngster, and you have a parent, as a parent, have to listen to him. He might not be right. He might be wrong, but he's always right because he's the coach.
Did you read the Matheny manifesto?
That's where I got it, yeah. That's where I got that line, and I think it's a good line. If you want the team to be coached differently, and I don't think that this person is asking that question, but if you want the team to be coached differently, then you have to volunteer to coach the team.
The best thing about the manifesto was parents staying away.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, let the coach coach, let the umpires umpire, and the fans, the parents and family members can come and sit and watch, but don't berate anybody. But hopefully your son will continue to play well on defense, and you'll be able to maintain a level of interest in that position. And by the way, if he's looking to move on, thing is, everybody loves playing forward. And if you're a good defenseman, you're going to have a much better chance of you're going to have a much better chance of getting a good scholarship.
It says Tony's book was awesome. Mike, his book sucks.
Tony didn't write a book, did he?
He did 3 Nights in August.
It was by,
I was going to say.
Buzz Bissinger.
Buzz Bissinger, yeah. Tony's book, that book, and by the way, George Will also wrote a book about Tony called Men at Work.
Yeah.
But they were all great. So I don't read many books, but so I can't really judge one versus the other. But I thought Mike Matheny's book was fine.
Can you not focus on books when you read?
Yeah, I'm not very good at that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't do it.
Yeah.
When I hear Men at Work, I just think of the band.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't think of the book.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Nicely done, Danny Mac. Dear Uncle Randy, my wife and I's first anniversary is later this month, and she says it's the paper anniversary. What's a good gift that goes with the theme? Randy, do not say cash.
Not a bad idea.
I'm going to head this one off at the pass. Do not answer cash.
Okay, the first thing that I think of is there are 2 ways to go here. You can go in a very inexpensive but very meaningful way by writing her the 1-year love letter. All right? Handwritten, all the things that you've been through over the course of this first year and how much you've enjoyed it and how much you love her. I think that's one way to go. One other thing that you can do, our buddy Ross Tucker, and if you go to Ross's thing on X, let me find it. But he's got this My Front Page. I think it's myfrontpagestory.com. And what they do at myfrontpagestory.com is kind of like a newspaper version of what we do with Sound Story. And they will have a person interview you about her and then write a story that shows up on a newspaper print about her called myfrontpagestory.com. I think that'd be a pretty cool thing to do too, is have a story written about her on paper. So the paper anniversary.
314 has got people say plane tickets.
Okay, well, that's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
That's although most of those are on the phone now, but I got you. I know where you're coming from.
that's true. That's or concert tickets.
But you can get plane tickets. So you can print them out. So that's not a bad idea. Concert tickets, hockey tickets. Yeah,
That's a really good one.
hockey tickets. I don't think are on paper at all anymore.
I've been wondering this. 573, ask Uncle Randy who is his favorite blue.
Currently?
Yeah. I like that question.
Well, our guy, Robert Thomas, probably Binner. Binner, I think, is the most interesting and compelling guy. But in terms of just, it was interesting. I thought Joey coming up with him to talk to on the plane for 4.5 hours. Because I
found
feel
that interesting, too.
Yeah. I like Jordan Binnington a lot, but I like Robert Thomas a lot, too. So those are our two main guys, I guess. And Schenner, he's been around a long time. You get to know people when they've been around. And so Braden Schenner would be another one.
Randy, my wife works for a company based out of California, and she recently went out there on Tuesday in which she had a company meeting, which her company is filled with guys I don't know. They were going to a soccer game on Wednesday, and she texted to tell me that one of the guys was going to pick her up from the hotel and take her to the soccer game and then take her back. Again, I don't know these guys. Am I allowed to be jealous and say that I know and say, no, I want you to take an Uber?
They're coworkers?
Yeah.
I would think that in the work environment, if you trust her, I don't think that there's a real good reason to be jealous. Now, you can say that, but I wonder if she works with these guys on a daily basis, because what's the difference going to be if she's at a soccer game with them in California or if she's in the office in Chesterfield?
What if they weren't going to a soccer game? Would that concern you at all?
If they were going to a bar or something like that? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But if it's a work outing, just get everybody together. It's, the work environment, I mean, young guys don't, because of a lot of things that have transpired over the last 5 years, there's not as much office romance as there used to be.
You got a reason not
That's fair.
You got a reason not to trust her?
That's the big question for him, yeah. But as far as guys are concerned, I think guys are very reluctant, at least in my recent experience, to engage with a female that in the workspace.
Trust Joan?
Good.
Yeah, she's
absolutely, right?
Fine, yeah.
Uncle Randy, I get married in a week and I haven't written my vows yet. Any guidance?
I would say don't speak from the heart. I would say get yourself a 3x5 card and have 3 or 4 things down, just talking points. Things will come to mind, but give yourself talking points, like 4 bullet points, and speak from the heart then. But don't walk in saying, okay, well, I'll just wing this. Don't wing it. But if you aren't going to be able to write out a 30-page manifesto on how much you love her, then my suggestion would be, and I do this when I speak to groups, is have half a dozen, 4 bullet points, and provide it to her that way. And we can provide you bullet points. Okay, the day I met you will be one of the most memorable days of my life. I loved falling in love with you. The day you said yes to my proposal was a day that I will never forget. I'm just throwing up ideas here. And the only thing better than those days is this day where we are going to be together and we are going to cement this relationship. So work around things like that and you'll have it and she'll be fine. And just see if you can get one thing in there. One thing that Dan McLaughlin always did that he taught me in doing interviews is try to get people to cry. So if you're if you're talking to her on that day, it should be easier. She should be on the edge emotionally anyway. Say something that'll make her cry. Go for it.
Who did I get to cry that you enjoyed?
Noodles McLennan. Jamie McLennan.
I do remember that one. He was dealing with a pretty serious health issue, and we kind of showed it and had him look at the TV as he was doing the interview, and he cried.
That made me cry.
Did it really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got Matt Carpenter's, Matt Holliday and Matt Carpenter's dads to cry. We used to do Dad's Week leading up to Father's Day. And you can always, when dads are talking about their sons or daughters, you can always get them to cry.
I don't like crying before 10 a.m.
I pulled that off,
I don't like crying before
we
10
did.
a.m.
That was fast lane stuff when we got them to cry. And that was my goal walking in, so that was probably not very nice.
Matthew, I do not see you as a crier at all.
We talked about this before.
Yeah.
Not one bit do I see you cry.
You know who I'm going to talk to today?
You're having fun with this now, aren't you?
One of my all-time favorite St. Louis athletes, Grant Wistrom. Going to talk to him today for the 25th anniversary.
Bang, tomorrow's Thursday. Let's go.
Oh, tomorrow's Thursday. We've got Isaac.
Yes.
Isaac's awesome,
That's
as
awesome.
always.
Will Grant cry?
No,
he won't cry.
No, he won't cry. Grant is.
Can you get one of the Rams to cry over the phone?
Probably not.
Okay.
DV.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, DV in a couple weeks.
I'm not to DV's proportion, but I am just to the right of on the scale of how much I cry with Dick Vermeil. I'm a crier. I'm not even afraid to admit it. You give me a good Jeremy Schaap. That man has made me cry so many Saturday mornings, and he needs to stop doing it.
Yeah,
they need to stop doing that, because I wake up on Saturday, I'm like, oh, cool, college game day, but I get in a little too early, right at like 8:30, and it's like, okay, now Jeremy Schaap's going to make me cry. Thanks. This is great. Dear Uncle Randy, I just got married over this past weekend, but my sister will be getting married next year, the day before what will be my 1-year anniversary in Ohio. My wife wants to leave the night of the wedding to drive home so we don't spend our anniversary in Ohio, but honestly, I'm fine with it. What do I do?
If your wife, that's totally cool to me. And you know what? Maybe you could go and leave Ohio, and rather than come home, go on a 1-year anniversary trip on the night of the wedding. I think that'd be fine. Nobody else will be around. Obviously, everybody will leave the wedding. So yeah, I would, depending on the ability of you, if you're in Cincy or Columbus or Cleveland, you'll have access to an airport. Yeah, I am actually with you, with your wife. I would say if you don't care and she wants to get out, why don't you set up a trip and spend your anniversary at a more exotic place like Pennsylvania?
636. Remember when Michelle left the show? How did she not cry? She did not cry?
She cried.
Did you cry?
No, but
okay.
I think she may have cried off the air.
Okay, that was a tough transition in her life to move to New York and leave the show after many years here.
She put a ton of thought into it, and we had multiple conversations about it, and it was the right thing for her to do, because what she's doing now was her dream scenario, to go up to New York and become a star, and she has. So everything worked out. I don't think that was a crying thing. If there was any cry, it was just not knowing what the future held.
Can I read one that I just kind of need to laugh at? Sometimes we get texts where people text stuff, and I'm just like, did you need to use that entire sentence to explain something that everyone knows? And we get a text like this: the best 1-year anniversary gift that represents paper is to buy your wife a tree to plant at home. So let's stop right there. We've all understood the reference, right? We had the text earlier. The first anniversary is paper. We understand what's going on here. The person follows up with sentence number 2 of their text. Paper is made out of trees, and that tree can grow in your yard as your marriage and life grow together. I love the sentiment in the second part, but the first phrase, paper is made out of trees. Sometimes I wonder what people are thinking when they're crafting the text, and that was one of those ones I just go, why did you feel the need to explain that part out there? Paper's made out of trees.
I need help on something.
Yeah.
Paper anniversary. What exactly is that?
It's the whole, like, every anniversary has like a theme.
Like the golden anniversary is 50.
The silver anniversary, the pearl anniversary, for all I know, the paper anniversary, I don't know. We can look up what the list.
They're here on the Google machine. Hold on here one second, Daniel.
Gifts by year. Okay, here we go.
Okay, go.
Okay. So we got paper, cotton, leather, fruit or flowers.
Leather
wood,
is 3?
Yes. So wood is 5. Candy or iron is 6. How the hell did those two get put together? Mm-hmm. 7, wool or copper. Pottery or bronze. Willow or pottery again. Tin or aluminum, excuse me, and it just kind of runs down like that throughout the entire thing. You get down to the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th. Now we're into themes: fire, water, air, and stone.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, I didn't know that.
Furniture, porcelain, crystal. Man, being married costs a lot of money.
What was steel?
11th anniversary.
So that's a car.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Definitely a car.
Yeah, 11th. What's the 10th?
10th's got to be a good one, right? 10th is tin or aluminum.
Interesting.
I feel like in a society that places so much importance on
it's a trip in a plane.
Integers of 10. Yeah. I feel like it's a weird one to do.
Yeah, tin or aluminum is a trip in a plane, right? You think?
Oh, that's a really good point.
Damn. Yeah.
Let's see. 314 says for the 5th anniversary, they should do plane tickets. Okay, so it just, every anniversary has got something to it. It's got a theme.
5th is wood.
5th is wood.
The 5th anniversary is wood.
You can look at that as a few different ways.
Again, candy or iron for sixth. I like how you can really sixth year in your marriage. You can really you have a fork in the road, and apparently you're making a decision which way your marriage goes between candy and iron.
Thanks very much for your text. We do appreciate them. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Randy.
And coming up next, the Blues have one game under their belt of 82 in this 2024-2025 Stanley Cup Championship season. What are our first impressions? That's next on 101 ESPN.
It's a Wednesday, and let's talk about Stewart's American Mortgage. If you're someone who is looking to purchase a home, refi, or you're looking to consolidate some of that ugly credit card debt, maybe you don't know exactly what direction to go to in any of these things, call Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage. He joins us on the phone line. Stewie, we're talking about interest rates this morning.
Danny, interest rates are starting to actually climb up. They're going higher a little bit. They're going upwards. This is why you have to take the opportunity when they take that dip and grab it while you can. We just closed a ESPN listener, saved $450 a month on his payment for free. Bought his house 7 months ago. So if you're not sure whether you have the best interest rate, give me a call. I'll tell you whether you should stay put or whether or not you should refinance and what your options are. That's the key. Don't self-diagnose. Give us a call. We'll show you the differences. You'll get educated quickly. You'll be able to make the best decision, and you'll be on your way to a better life.
Stewie is your guy. He makes it easy for you. Any questions on rates, the industry, the trends, give Stewart a call. Call him directly. His personal cell phone, he's on it right now, 314-324-4440, 314-324-4440. Or, Stewie, what else can you do?
Google the bagel loan.
NMLS number 226715.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues, with their season opener, walking away with a W. They went down too early, but they roared back with 3 goals in under 2 minutes to take a 3-2 lead, which they were able to kill to win that one 3-2 over the Kraken. In your Major League Baseball playoffs, the Mets with a big win over the Phillies 7-2. The Padres eke past the Dodgers 6-5, and now have a 4-game slate for today. Game 3 of the Guardians and Tigers tied at 1 game apiece. We'll have the first pitch at 2:08 p.m. followed up by Phillies and Mets games 4. Mets again leading 2-1 in that series. 4:08 p.m. Yankees and Royals follows that. Game 3 tied at 1 game apiece. That is a 6:08 first pitch, and then there is Dodgers and Padres, your late game tonight. Game 4 of that matchup as the Padres now lead 2-1. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Puck dumped in. Parayko slaps it around. It's going to go all the way down. Buchnevich will lead the rush. 5 seconds to go here in this one. Wrap around denied, but the horn sounds and bring out the Zamboni. A powerful second period comeback. And the St. Louis Blues beat the Kraken by a score of 3-2. And they start the season off with 2 big road points in Seattle.
Chris Kerber with the call yesterday here on 101 ESPN as the Blues won their opener in Seattle by a score of 3-2 over the Kraken. The Blues outshot 11-6 in the first period, and midway through the second period, they just had trouble finding their game. And, Dan, you mentioned it earlier. At the 9:01 mark of the second, Nathan Walker gets into it with Vince Dunn, and then you got the fight between Toropchenko and Gordy, and that really seemed to change the complexion of the game. The Blues score about 4 minutes later. Kyrou with his first of 2, but the energy level of the Blues seemed to expand dramatically after that little skirmish at the 9:01 mark. So
we're asking about some of the things that stood out and need to stand out for the remainder of the season. Kyrou scoring twice. He's got to be a goal scorer for the Blues. Can't get off to a slow start like he did last year. Seattle didn't have a shot in the final 11:50 of the game. So we're talking about the defensive shell that the Blues used. How about this? When the Blues had the lead last year, they were 29-1-1 after 2 periods. So that continued yesterday. I thought Jordan Binnington kept them in the game. 26 saves through 2 periods. He had 30 total. And it won't get talked about a lot. I thought Fosca was outstanding. And I thought Broberg and Falk, that pairing, they were outstanding as well. So those are some of the things that stood out for me.
I thought it was interesting with a 1-goal lead late. You're up 3-2 late, and it is Broberg on the ice for the last 90 seconds of the game.
Yeah, and those two with Falk, and Falk looked better to me, too.
Yeah, he
on the
healthy.
Point. Yeah, he's skating better. He looked healthy. He's on the point for the power play, which he's done before. And if you look at his numbers the last couple of years, they've been pretty good, with the exception of last year. Prior to that, he was very good, and he was getting time on the power play. He was shooting the puck. He was scoring goals. If they get him to be the player that they expect and that they signed and that he's healthy, could be a difference maker for this season for the Blues. But again, the one guy you got to look at, actually 2 for me, Kyrou. You know, he's got to score goals. And the other part of this is Jordan Binnington. Be Jordan Binnington. And if he is, then they're going to have a chance to win some games.
And I wonder, ultimately, if Braden Shen is going to wind up playing more time at center this year, or if he'll wind up playing more time at wing. It's hard to take a lot out of one game, but we did see Shenner a lot last year. And maybe he's rebounded, and maybe he can be a bottom 6 center for you, because Buchnevich right now is going to be, along with Thomas, your top 2 centers. I just wonder if Shen can be that guy for you for a really good team.
The other one is Buchnevich going for, as you talked about, going from center to wing with Thomas and Kyrou. And those 3 worked well together. I kind of wonder, Randy, if, you give the experiment, let's say 10 games into the season, and all of a sudden Drew Bannister says, we can't do this. Buchnevich is out of position. It's not the same. You're asking him to play a full game, and he's not. Then you got to move him to wing, and then your top line is producing. And that's something I think that is on the table at this point as we review the Blues' first game. But there's a lot of positives. I mean, being down, erasing a 2-goal deficit in a minute 55, at times you didn't see that last year. They could get buried, especially early in games. So I look at a lot of positives coming from the game yesterday.
By the way, one thing about that third line is Texier's played a lot of center in his career. I liked him, too. Me, too. I thought he played well. And I wonder if just flipping those two, if you move Texier inside and Schenner to the wing, if that might ultimately be more effective for the Blues.
Do you think Texier gets overlooked yesterday?
Yeah.
And Faksa gets overlooked yesterday. And they have more of a situation where last year it was 2 lines that you counted on, and you didn't know what you're going to get out of the third. You didn't know what you got out of the fourth. And I just noticed more depth yesterday when Drew Bannister would roll out that third and fourth line.
And there's just more grit. Fox is a grittier player than anything they had. And taking nothing away from Oscar Sundqvist, who will be back, and that'll change the center position too. But there is a lot more grit and a lot more forechecking and a lot more speed on that bottom 6 than there was last year.
What'd you think of Holloway?
Liked him a lot.
I did too.
He was quite visible, wasn't he?
He was.
That to me is the key. That was something Bob Plager always said. He said, if you're noticing a guy in a good way, then he's probably playing well. If you don't notice a guy, you say, okay, I wonder where he was tonight. That's a bad thing. But I thought Holloway was one of those guys yesterday that was noticeable on that top line.
The other thing, too, is Broberg and the way that he skates. I had heard about it. I did not go to training camp. I didn't see any of the practices. John Kelly talked about it yesterday when he was on the air with us. This team is much faster. And Broberg and Falk, that combination can be really good. Really, I thought they were exceptional yesterday. But, again, one of those things that gets overlooked. I think that pairing is going to work out pretty well.
I do, too. And hopefully we'll see more goaltending like Grubauer provided yesterday for Broberg on Broberg's goal. That's what the Blues need, is guys to just miss the puck with their glove.
Do you think so?
It can't hurt.
You can't hurt at all.
As long as Binner doesn't do it, we're good. That's Dan. I'm Randy. It is the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we've got Take It or Leave It. You can text in 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! Take It or Leave It next on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you are looking for a great place to watch the game on Saturday, Mizzou and UMass, you need to stop by the Fenton Bar and Grill on Rudder Road in Fenton. They have great beer and drink specials throughout the day. They're going to have their appetizer specials. They have 6 superb appetizers for $6 a piece, and you're going to have a great staff to serve you. Alicia will be there on Saturday, along with Jamie and Dawn and Rachel and Casey and Heather. The whole gang will be there, and it'll just be loaded with Mizzou fans, and you'll be able to enjoy MIZZOU. And when you go there, they're going to have Miller Lite and Modelo and Coors specials, and you're going to just have fun watching Mizzou. Hopefully you'll come away with a victory. And I'll tell you what, if you're looking for a great place for a lunch or a happy hour today, Fenton Bar and Grill is the place to go. The staff will be there. You can say hi to Megan and the feisty redhead Kelly, and say hi to Casey and tell them Randy sent you, and you'll be served by great people with all of the daytime baseball on TV today. The Fenton Bar and Grill is definitely the place to go for lunch, happy hour, or dinner. If you're playing golf today, stop by after golf and say hi to everybody at the Fenton Bar and Grill. Learn more at FentonBarandGrill.com, just 2 minutes away from the soccer park. And when you go, tell them Randy sent you.
or leave it.
Want to say something? Put it out there. If you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Time for Tioli here on 101 ESPN. Guys, as you know, I can't get enough of Taylor Swift, the football fan. Did you see that she was wearing glitter freckles the other night at the game? Yes, yeah. The company that makes those glitter freckles, which debuted in May, it's called Fazit, and they have seen in 15 hours a 2,500% spike in sales because Taylor Swift wore these glitter freckles. Take it or leave it. We need to get Taylor Swift to listen to 1 hour of the opening drive and then admit it.
What do you think would happen?
Oh, we would see a 2,500% spike in listenership.
Yeah, probably.
The Swifties would love us. We'll say nice things about Swiftie and Travis.
I have an honest question.
Yeah.
Do you think the NFL goes to CBS or NBC or ESPN and asks them to put her on as much as you want?
I don't think they have to. I think that that's just,
probably want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And obviously, you know, when she walks in, everybody's got their videos of her. I wonder now, though, last year when it first started, the TV people had to find her. I wonder if now they just say, okay, she's in box, 219.
Right below the broadcast.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, take it or leave it. The Jets, at the least, gave it a thought of bringing Bill Belichick to be the head coach of their team.
100% take. Now, why did Bill Belichick leave the Jets? I put it on a napkin. I resign as HC of NYJ because the team was being sold to the Woody and Christopher Johnson. Right. That's why he left. So I have to believe that they did and probably will think of it. But, man, it seems like such a mess. Do you think Belichick would want to walk into that atmosphere?
No. I think it's a bad look for Aaron Rodgers, too.
Yeah.
Moving forward, Mike McCarthy got fired after they changed the offense with Green Bay. And he's, you could say he's a coach killer.
Yeah.
I mean, there's guys that have been let through the door because of his frustration. I went back and compared Aaron Rodgers to Daniel Jones. So you're talking about guys in New York. Jones has a better rating, a passer rating, completion percent, passing yards, and they both have the same record. That is shocking to me.
Jones has a playoff win.
And he has a playoff win. They're both 2-3. The amazing thing about the Jets is that if they win, they're at the next week. They're at the top place of their division.
Amazing. All right, Matthew, what do you got for us?
Take it or leave it. Kevin O'Connell is the most underrated coach in the NFL.
I'm going to take that.
He's doing a good job, isn't he?
Sam Darnold, changing him. They're winning games. They're undefeated. How could you not give him a look at being an underrated coach right now in the NFL?
Yeah, he is. Kevin Stefanski has won Coach of the Year twice, and he's just in a bad situation with the quarterback position.
Yeah. Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
What do you do with him? Honestly, what would you do with him?
They're stuck. Now, here's what I would do.
Fire him and his contract into the sun?
I think what you have to do is you got to take one for the team next year where you're going to have a $100 million hit. So your salary cap for the rest of your team that's actually playing will be $100 million, $120 million. And you're just going to have that year where you have all of that dead money and then basically start over. But you're going to have a year where you can't afford to really field a representative roster.
And you can't keep playing Deshaun Watson. He's the worst QB right now in the NFL.
Here's the really bad thing about it, though. If you would do that next year, think about what they'd lose. They'd lose Bitonio. They'd lose Myles Garrett. They'd lose the corner Ward. They'd lose so many guys. They're in a bad spot, man. I don't know if they want to keep Chubb around. He's coming back apparently in the next couple of weeks. But they've got a lot of good players. It's a talented team that is being held hostage by one guy.
Matthew?
Take it or leave it. The rest of the football season, we won't be able to get through a full show without you hacks mentioning Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
100%. Take it, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta mention them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're one of the storylines of the NFL.
You've got the most popular person on the globe.
Yeah.
So I would think that, that'll be part of it.
I want you to walk around knowing that we're doing it just to piss you off.
Yes, exactly.
You guys get worn out with Travis Kelce?
No, I got him on my team.
No. You got to be happy then with what took place on Monday Night Football.
He won a game for me. Thank you.
People got really mad. You guys weren't here. I think it was Brooke and BK. I called him a lovable D-bag, and people, despite hating him on our text line for the most part, a very different group of people were very angry at me for stating that he's a very lovable D-bag, which is exactly what he is.
What makes him that? Besides being lovable.
What makes him lovable or a D-bag?
A D-bag.
Oh, he just seems like he'd kind of just be the same guy. He'd kind of have the personality of a 17-year-old for the most part. And, like, I think that'd be very fun for the most part, especially if you're his brother. But I think probably if you're a more serious person, if you're not around him very often, it would probably grate on you and you'd be like, this guy is such an ass. But I think it's just to the point. He has the settings tuned perfectly where it's just lovable.
Can you think of one reason why he should be serious in life?
No, and that's I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
and
it's amazing.
And if you heard the stories from his mom and his dad that we got when it was the whole Kelsey run for the Eagles in the Chiefs Super Bowl, he's been like this his entire life. Right. At one point, his somebody asked Donna Kelsey, "Are you sad that you had two boys?" And she goes, "No. I've had a daughter this whole time. I've been dressing up Travis since he was a little kid." Perfect comment. The guy wears big, giant fur coats, and it's fantastic.
Great.
Randy, you love Andy Reid.
Yes.
If you kept Mahomes, so he stays this year and beyond, can you win just plug and play with other players? He's that good, and the coaching is that good, so you just plug and play with guys, and they still win.
So you don't have Reid, or you do?
You do.
You have Reid and Mahomes?
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to win.
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
They're plug and play, and they find guys that put up numbers, and they win.
I think it'll help to keep Spags around, too, though.
Absolutely.
Because
defense has been phenomenal.
But when you look at how bad that offensive line is right now, the fact that they're on their is Kareem Hunt their third or fourth running back? I would say he's their fourth. Steele is their third. Obviously, Pacheco and Edwards-Helaire ahead of him.
Oh, Pirine, too.
Yeah, there you go. You're dealing with a really depleted receiver core with your number one guy out. What they do on offense, despite missing as many players as they are missing, is incredible.
What do you guys think of Drake May being inserted into the starting lineup?
Stupid.
Yeah, talked about it yesterday. It's dumb. I mean, you gotta. I mean, again, I feel sorry for Jacoby Brissett, but listen, you're gonna pay $1 million to take a whacking for 17 weeks, or probably like 15 weeks, and then you get Drake May like weeks 17 and 18 when half the teams aren't even trying anymore. You can get some light game reps. That was the plan. Follow the plan.
Yep. Brissett has been pressured on 47% of his dropbacks.
That's why you don't play Drake May.
Agreed.
Yep.
And that's like a 7-year vet who, if you put a good line in front of him, can win. So I mean, he can do it. You don't put a rookie who's never dealt with it behind that line. That's crazy. Yep. Take it or leave it. The Bengals defense gets it together, matches up with the offense, and they make a run in that tough AFC North.
I can see it. I can see it.
Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Put up 38 against the Ravens. Winnable game. I understand they're not winning games and you got to get over the hump, but you got Joe Burrow and you got a chance to win.
It's not going to happen for Cleveland. We know the Pittsburgh defense is going to be there if Watt is healthy. I can't say my only question about Pittsburgh is Justin Fields, because they can't run the ball anymore.
No.
That's a running and defense team, and they can't run the ball.
Mike Tomlin did not commit to Justin Fields for this weekend. He said, well, we got a couple of guys that are competing in practice, but he did not commit to Justin Fields.
Pretty interesting. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Randy.
And thanks very much for your text. We do appreciate it. Coming up, how do you build a rotation for the playoffs these days in baseball? It seems like the two richest teams are having trouble with that. That's next on 101 ESPN. I've been talking to you about Gloria Lou for a while now, and there's a good reason for that, because Gloria is the best at what she does. If you are trying to sell your home, then you need an agent that is great, and Gloria is great. When it comes time to sell your home, you need a reliable, experienced, and trusted agent. And if you get to know Gloria Lou, you'll find out that she is all of that and more. She's with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and there are a lot of reasons to call her at 314-325-6888. When you think about experience, she's been around for 20 years. When you think about reliable, she will sell your home at your agreed-to price and time frame, and if you don't, she'll buy it herself, and that's guaranteed in writing. And trusted. She's been at it for 20 years, and she's sold thousands of homes over the years. As a matter of fact, hundreds of homes sold in just the past 12 months alone. She's the only agent that I would trust to sell my home, and Gloria Lou would be the only person that you should trust to sell yours. Her number is 314-325-6888. You can find Gloria on the web at gloriahasthebuyers.com. And as always, Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date. To learn more, visit gloriahasthebuyers.com. In Woof. 804, your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke is out today. Dan, Matthew, and Randy. Yes, sir?
You need to explain woof. There's a lot of people that probably don't understand that.
We will explain woof then. Back in the day, when I was an engineer for St. Louis Cardinal Baseball back at KMOX, I ran the network, so did Dan. And when we would have a rain delay, Jack Buck would tell us, okay, we're coming back, because we would play rain delay theater.
Yeah.
And so, or when I was doing it, we would do in-game sports open line.
Yeah.
And so the stations would have to bring the network back. Jack and Mike would take a break, and they would come back, let's say at 8:25. He said, we'll come back at 8:25. It will be 8:20 in 3, 2, 1. Woof. That was the word that he used. I have no idea why. So we'll be back in 1 minute. It'll be 8:24 in 3, 2, 1, woof. So woof just became a thing. So when I've done top of the hour time checks, that's what I say here on the radio as another homage on this show to the great Jack Buck.
I screwed it up a lot. I messed it up.
That happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
It happens.
Okay, so Danny, we've got 4 baseball games today. The Tigers are undecided on their starting pitcher. The Yankees are starting Clark Schmidt. The Dodgers are undecided on their starting pitcher. And by the way, Alex Cobb for the Guardians, who basically had his career end, and he's been salvaged by Cleveland. Alex Cobb has been a nice pitcher in the past. He's not a very good pitcher right now. I mentioned Clark Schmidt. In the last month of the season, September and October, Schmidt has made 5 starts. He's gone 24 2/3 innings, and he has allowed 22 hits in those 24 innings. some teams are not having difficulty with this. Dylan Cease goes for San Diego today after Michael King went last night. Why is it that teams with the biggest money can't find starting pitchers at this time of year, and how do you do that? How do you find starting pitchers at this time of year?
The Dodgers are the one I don't.
It's amazing.
I don't understand that. Now, I still think you have to have a number one. So if you look at the Yankees, you got Garrett Cole, who, by the way, wasn't very good in game number one. Skubal has turned out to be a Cy Young Award winner. So you have a number one. Aaron Nola or Wheeler in Philly.
Philly's got it figured out.
And Sean Manaea has turned into a number one. Crossfire. He was watching Chris Sale when the Atlanta Braves were in town, and all of a sudden has become a different pitcher. I don't know if you agree, but I still think you have to have a few things. Number one, a number one. So you can set the tone in a series if it lines up that way. And number two, I think you got to have a little luck. You got to have somebody emerge. It doesn't necessarily mean that pitcher is going to be there the entire season of the regular season, but if you have a little luck along the way, that's part of it too. And the other thing is, maybe you don't need to spend the kind of money that teams are spending on these number one. Now, I love seeing a number one, but teams aren't spending a ton of money on their rotation. And so if you have teams that slug, as I mentioned before, nearly 50%, if you hit a home run, you're going to win a game in postseason play. That's part of it, too.
I agree with the number one, but I just wonder why, back in the day, you could count on pitchers that pitched in the regular season being able to start games for you in the postseason. I don't remember in the 80s when the Cardinals went to those 3 World Series ever having a TBA.
No.
Right?
No, that was never going to be the case.
And I wonder why, and I get that we're preserving pitchers, but I think I thought we were preserving them for the postseason.
So do you want to spend the money on a number one? Do you want to spend over $200 million on Garrett Cole?
I would do that. I would do Cole. I would do guys in their prime.
Yeah.
The Scherzer contract in 2015, $210 million for 7 years. Great. The Garrett Cole contract. But am I going to spend that kind of money on a might-be number one? Am I going to spend the money the Dodgers spent on Yamamoto? No, I'm not. But for a guy who has done it in the major leagues and is a horse, I'm going to do that. But I also want to find those guys, the Jeff Supans of the world, the Danny Coxes of the world that I developed. I want to find those guys that I can count on starting games in the postseason, because I don't think I should be in the second week of the postseason and can't figure out a single starting pitcher.
It's a war of attrition, really, is what you're talking about, to have bullpen guys that are sometimes bullpen guys throughout the regular season move to the starting rotation. I always go back to the 2004 Cardinals. They essentially used the same 5 for the entire season. Yeah. And these were the guys that started postseason play, where in 06, Jeff Suppan turns out to be the NLCS MVP. Yep. You have to have somebody step up.
And remember, and I don't know that this had any effect at all on the Cardinals not winning the 2004 World Series, but Carpenter had the nerve issue in August and didn't pitch again. So then you're going with Williams, Morris. Who else was on that staff in 04?
Chris Carpenter. Marquis.
Carp got hurt.
Oh, that's right. And then you had Danny Herron, who stepped up. So you had to have somebody that came from the minor leagues that you thought was pretty good and make a start or 2 or 10 and give you a chance to win. They were able to plug and play. I just got to wonder about the depth in organizations, too, with starting pitching. And you talked about it before we came on the air. It is amazing, and I don't know if you have this in front of you. I don't want to put you on the spot. The Dodgers have spent so much money with their everyday lineup and yet are stuck with a situation where they don't have enough starting pitching. I find that just incredibly inexcusable to spend that kind of money and not be able to field a 1 through 4, let's say, much less a 1 through 5 for postseason play. That's just hard to believe.
So they can't use Clayton Kershaw again. They've shut him down for the rest of the season. Gavin Stone, 60-day DL. Pretty good starting pitching performance from him in 24. Emmett Sheehan, they like a lot, 60-day IL. Dustin May, 60-day IL. Tyler Glasnow, 60-day IL. Tony Gonsolin, 60-day IL. And then Brewster Gatterall out of the bullpen is on the 15-day. They have to pitch Walker Buehler last night, and everybody was surprised that he was able to go 5 innings because we just didn't see it coming. A guy like Bobby Miller, we've seen pitch well for the Dodgers before. They don't want to start him now.
Right.
So they've got a TBA. It's just really weird to me that a team that has they've got a dozen guys that are major league starting pitchers, and they can't find one to start a playoff game.
Here's the other thing. If you look at starting pitchers, they're going about 5 innings. On average, a year ago, 5 innings. So are you better off by spending money in your bullpen, kind of like the Padres have done, and load up with the bullpen as opposed to worrying about, even though I want a number one, but worrying about your starting rotation? Guys just don't go deep anyway in the playoffs, so what's the point? Now, Minaya pitched into the 8th last night for the Mets. That's a different story. You just don't see guys go deep into games, and TBA may be the best way to go about this. Have everybody go 2 innings, maybe an inning, look at matchups, and that's the best way to do this. And to an extent, you can keep guys fresh, too, as you go along.
Now, tell me this, if you like this. Mike Schilt announced after the win last night that he's going to pitch Dylan Cease on short rest today.
I love it.
I do, too. I think it's great. And Cease is a horse.
Yes, and guys that can handle it. I think Nola, I think Wheeler can handle it. I think if you're pressed into a situation, you're paying all this money to Garrett Cole. You're supposed to be a number one.
Right.
Go on short day's rest.
And if you can clinch, if you can knock them out at home, knock the Dodgers out at home,
you go for it.
Go with your best guy.
Absolutely. And that's where I'm going. I still think that you need to have a number one, but then backload your bullpen to be just sensational.
That's the Padres bullpen every day.
Yeah. I mean, they're getting, their starters are going 4 to 5 innings, and then they, load up at the bullpen, and maybe that's the model. Now, there's teams that have done that. I mean, look at the Kansas City Royals. Worked for them, get into the 7th, and it was going to be a shutdown situation and give them a chance to win every single time.
And that was amazing that in that year, when it was HDH, right, Herrera, Davis, Holland, that for as much as they won, they used those guys every time, and they weren't used up at the end of the season.
You and I like old school baseball. Is it shocking to you that the average starter is going 5 innings in postseason play?
Shocking.
It is.
Yeah.
And again, that's why you got to load up the bullpen. I thought the Padres, what they did at the trade deadline was going to get them into postseason play because they've been playing essentially playoff baseball down the stretch. And what did Mike Schilt do? Who's great at handling a bullpen. They won games because of their bullpen, and I just wonder if that's the model moving forward.
Oh, totally. This all started with Tony in 2011.
Yeah.
Taking guys out in the 3rd inning.
Yeah. Zipchinski was getting big innings.
Fernando Salas, remember? Salas falling off the cliff, and he's coming in the 4th inning.
Octavio Dotel being another one.
My hero for Immaculate Grid is Octavio Dotel.
And why is that?
Because he pitched for so many teams.
Did he have 12? I think he had 12.
Yeah, I think so. I've got him in there today, as a matter of fact. I'll find today's Immaculate Grid, and I'll tell you, I'm pretty sure that I have him in there. Here we go. So you need, here we go. You needed a Yankee and Blue Jay, Octavio Dotel. I use the guy pretty much every single day. By the way, here's my, because I always try to make it not only just, you know how I do it. I do it with a Cardinal in addition to the guys. So you needed a Cub and a Blue Jay, Corey Patterson. You needed a Padre and a Cub, Jerry Morales from the 70s. Remember him?
Oh, yeah.
You needed a Cubs MVP, Hank Sauer.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, he came over to the Cardinals right after he won MVP for the Cubs.
How do you remember that one?
I just do. I just know stuff that's ridiculous. Yankee and Padre, Bob Shirley.
Okay.
Bob Shirley, one of the great lines in the history of baseball, coming up in a moment. Yankee MVP, Roger Maris.
Randy knows stuff is at 8:30.
Oh, okay. But then let's do a 40-WAR Blue Jay, Scott Rowland, a 40-WAR Padre, Ozzie, and a 40-WAR MVP, Stan the Man.
This is interesting. Kyle Gibson seems like a Jeff Suppan type for the St. Louis Cardinals. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I would too.
5 and fly, give you a chance to win.
I can play him pitch him in a big game. Yep. Not bothered by anything. I agree.
How about Edwin Jackson? That's got to be a good Immaculate Grid guy.
He's a great Immaculate Grid guy.
Was he 13 or 14 teams?
I think that he was 13.
Okay.
You know who else is sneaky good for, if you're including Cardinals? Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn wound up pitching for a lot of teams.
Texas,
Minnesota, Yankees.
I don't remember him as a Yankee.
He got traded by Minnesota to the Yankees at the end of the season. White Sox, Dodgers.
Yeah. Yeah, Cardinals.
So he'd been around, So there's your fresh take. So ultimately what you have to do is you need to get that one horse, and then you need to develop young guys.
So I've been thinking about this. 314, I understand how the game has changed with the starter. I don't understand how these starters can get these big contracts to go out and pitch 5 innings a game.
I don't either. I don't get it.
Now, you do need them, though, in the regular season, and you will probably stretch them out a little bit longer than you want to. But in postseason play, I mean, these guys are going 5 innings and fly.
And let's make the point also that the biggest money guys, the Scherzers, the Verlanders, we're always giving you way more than 5.
In postseason play, too.
Yeah, right.
But Garrett Cole, if you're paying him that kind of money and he leaves after 5 innings, he wasn't as effective as he's been in the regular season, but this is why you're paying him, is to step up in game 1 and get you a win.
10 largest deals for pitchers in MLB history. Let's just go. Number 1, David Price. Number 2 was Kershaw. Number 3, Scherzer. 4, Greinke. He kind of became a 5-and-dive guy.
Yep.
Verlander. Felix Hernandez. CC Sabathia was a horse.
Yes, he was.
He gave you innings. John Lester. He was fine. And then Cole Hamels.
Lester, I think about, 15 or 16 when the Cubs won. You had to do that. Yep. You had to ride him a little bit, which they did. But amazing to give those kind of deals, and then postseason play, these guys just don't go deep.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is.
Coming up here on 101 ESPN, Disney has a new plan for college football, but is there any way that the powers that be right now will let it work? That's next on 101 ESPN. A big savings at Schnucks this week. And when you go into Schnucks today through Tuesday, you're going to get big money off several customer favorites. Special sales with major money off the items that you love. Amazing discounts that you don't see every day. And when you hear these deals, you'll know what I mean. Today, tomorrow, and Friday. This is incredible. Certified Angus beef T-bone steak, a value pack is just $8.99 a pound at Schnucks. You can choose from Fuji or Gala or Granny Smith or Red Delicious apples, just 99 cents a pound. Plus sweet potatoes, 99 cents a pound. Hostess multi-pack snacks, $1.99. I'll stock up on those babies. And certified Angus beef porterhouse steak, the value pack is just $9.99 a pound when you go to Schnucks. Download the Schnucks Rewards app before you head in. Get yourself some steaks for this weekend. It's today, it's tomorrow, it's Friday. It is a big 3-day sale at Schnucks. Take advantage of it. Download the Schnucks Rewards app and head on over to build your big weekend meal at Schnucks. by Ross Dellinger at Yahoo Sports about something called Project Rudy. Project Rudy is named after Rudy Rudiger, and it's put together by some former Disney employees. And what it wants to do is incorporate the football programs of 4 power conferences into one 70-team structure. The model would preserve the power conferences, would expand the postseason, would overhaul scheduling. It would, this is a big thing, tier revenue distribution, and infuse as much as $9 billion in private capital cash into the system. I think that college football has it going pretty good right now. I don't think they need $9 billion. Not that they wouldn't like to have it. They just don't need $9 billion of private equity capital into the system. And I wonder ultimately what effect that money would have if they would incorporate Project Rudy on what we enjoy every Saturday right now.
Why would the SEC or even the Big Ten agree to this? That would be one of my questions right now. They're making so much money with what they have. The SEC just did a deal with ABC, so you can watch them in the primetime games on Saturday night. They usually start at noon and go all the way through. The Big Ten has just signed with CBS after the SEC left, so they're getting their money. And I thought you brought up a great point yesterday, Randy. What do you do with the blood donors? What do you do with Lindenwood, let's say, going to KU, and that money, that check, supplements your secondary programs? And I don't think they've thought about that. You're trying to get as much money as you can with the 70 teams that you're talking about. But what happens to secondary programs that you're trying to fund by being a blood donor in some of these games? I just don't understand that.
And, Dan, I think when you look at the way the system is built now, without having a preseason, if we're going to worry about the quality of the product, and the reason we're talking about this, by the way, is because with Project Rudy, all 70 of the teams that are in Project Rudy would have to play each other. There wouldn't be the 1AAs or the FCS matchups that you see. Mizzou wouldn't play SEMO. Kansas wouldn't play Lindenwood, which provides those programs enough money to sustain an athletic program. But the other thing that it would do, in my opinion, is kind of dilute some of the quality of the product that you see down the road. Because you're going to have teams, if for example, Mizzou doesn't get an opportunity to play a UMass, that's another group of 70 that they have to play, which is a coin flip game. Now, it might provide wildness, but it also would eliminate a lot of teams early on from the possibility of being in a playoff.
How do you do this? What happens with team number 71 that thinks that they should be in? I've been thinking about that. I also think that the Big Ten is crazy and how they're traveling. This is kind of on a separate subject, but you know, you look at Penn State, they had to send out their equipment bus on Monday to get to the West Coast. You know, the secondary sports trying to travel in the Big Ten, and you're located on, you know, the other side of the country. That
we get an equipment plane now because we just got $100 million more, Danny. We get an equipment plane now. What are you talking about? We don't need to drive anything.
Just spend the money.
Exactly.
Why not? So what do you do with the secondary sports?
That is honestly the one concept within this plan that I really think is. I don't want to call it a feather in their cap because I don't believe that it's in good faith. I believe that they are trying to find a way to fix the Olympic side of things because that's the problem that no one else has been able to figure out so far. And so if you can get if you can put multi-billion dollars into the organization, into college football, you can then find a way to funnel some money into the Olympic sports better than the way NIL is currently doing it, which is not at all.
And the biggest question would be, you've got smart people running college sports right now. You've got Tony Petitti now running the Big Ten network. You've got Greg Sankey running the SEC. Why would you want to set up a plan where somebody from Smash Capital would get some of your money? Why include a middleman when you can get all the cash?
Well, that's my point initially, is that if you're the SEC, why do you do this? You're going to make a ton of money anyway. You're the premier conference in college football. What's the appetite to go to get this outside, like you said, outside of the big guaranteed check that you might get anyway?
There isn't an appetite, and that's why I think it's fascinating. If you actually, there's a lot of unnamed sourcing in this article, which obviously there's a lot of people who are power brokers who are giving information to this article, so they have to keep the anonymity. I understand that. But my point is that when you look at how many unnamed sources there are, and then you look at the names that the people that are named sources, they're the Big 12 commissioner, they're an executive at the University of Miami, and then he quotes an open letter from people from the executives at Syracuse and West Virginia. These aren't the people who are playing at the highest level. These are the people who would benefit, not the people who would actually potentially lose something. That's why you're hearing from ACC schools in this article, but you're hearing from unnamed sources talking from the SEC and the Big Ten who are like, maybe not.
I don't like the idea for this reason. And Mizzou has made inroads into that rarefied air of being in the top 10. They were last year. Oregon has done it. Miami did it. Florida State did it for a while. But the way this would set up financially is there would be 3 tiers financially. The top 16 schools earn per school revenue projections from $130 million in year 4, escalating to $250 million in year 12. I can tell you right now, the top 16 schools are going to include Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, LSU, USC. It's going to be the same group that was there 50 years ago and 40 and 30 and 20 years ago. It's going to be the same group of schools. The next 22 schools, so that's the top 16 that get $130 million rising to $250 million. The next 22 schools, that might be where Mizzou would fall. They would earn revenues of $60 to $110 million. So Mizzou could be outspent by Texas by $70 million in the first year, and by the last year of the contract, they could be outspent by $140 million. And then after that, after the first 48, the last 32 schools would earn $30 to $60 million, which is what they would earn right now.
So who is funding this? That would be my other question.
This group, Smash Capital, it's a private equity group in L.A. Former Disney executives that would be financing the biggest portion of this. If I were college football, if I were college sports, I would stay away from private equity as much as I could.
Do you guys like the blood donor games?
I do.
I do too.
Because
entertainment-wise, I still like them.
Believe it or not, I am a blood donor. Lindenwood got blood donated to them by KU this year, and it helps sustain Lindenwood's athletic department for a whole, not just football, the whole athletic department for a year.
And you might have an upset or two.
Right. And every small school that gets it, even though they might get beat 63 to 7 or whatever, but they get the financial benefit of being able to have not only football players play, but other athletes in other sports as well.
I do want to say one other thing that Dellinger lays out here in the article is kind of the money side of things. According to the slide presentation, the proposed changes will result in an increase of media and sponsorship revenue of about $15 billion over a 12-year period. The growth is derived from holding 1.5 times more quote-unquote marquee games, playoffs, and top bowls, and 3 times more quote-unquote quality games, rivalries, and blue blood matchups, while eliminating games against the non-power opponents. Currently, that is 18% of FBS scheduling.
Yep. And by the way, the last 4 lines of the story. Will this happen eventually? Yes, said an SEC school executive. It's all inevitable. So, will this happen in 15 to 20 years? A chortle emanates from the other side of the line. Oh, no, much sooner than that.
What do you do with women's sports?
It's a great question.
It's the revenue sharing aspect again. It all gets back to, and again.
But how much of a chunk do you give the secondary sports and women's sports?
They just, Congress just said that you can revenue share $25 million.
Okay.
And that's what the Project Rudy lays out, that each team would essentially be guaranteed $25 million to be used for revenue sharing, which again is the exact same amount of money that was just passed in the congressional bill to be revenue shared.
That's Matthew. That's Dan. Brooke is out today. I'm Randy. And coming up, we've got the fight, and we need a fighter. So all we need to do is text in 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. If you'd like to fight me, send in that text with your name.
Solo on the Yo-Ho.
I know. We need to do it again. 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. There we go. Your name and the word fight to that text line. Maybe you'll fight me next on 101 ESPN. Believe it or not, fall is here. It was less than 50 degrees outside, and it's going to be cold before you know it. And with that being the case, those brisk mornings and hot afternoons in St. Louis are no joke. So you need to get in touch with Hoffman Brothers. Getting your home ready for fall is important, and part of that is getting your heating system maintenance. The heating and air conditioning equipment is the most expensive appliance in your home, and getting it maintained on an annual basis is very important to the longevity of the system, the operation of the system, and how energy efficient it remains. We had to get new furnaces a couple of years ago and got them from Hoffman Brothers and could not be happier. We are part of their home protection plan, and we utilize Hoffman Brothers for the replacement, the installation of the new furnaces, and they're so much more efficient and cost so much less to run. At Hoffman Brothers, they're going to come out, perform a heating maintenance, clean the heating system, check all the burners and gas lines for carbon monoxide, and it's safe for you and your family because that's their biggest priority. Having trouble with your system? Hoffman Brothers and Mitsubishi Electric have solutions for every room in your home. Call today to schedule your heating system maintenance or join their home protection plan. Visit HoffmanBros.com or call 314-664-3011 for Hoffman Brothers.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues with a 3-2 victory in their season opener over the Seattle Kraken, thanks to 2 goals from Jordan Kyrou. Also the first goal in a Blues uniform for new addition Philip Broberg. In Major League Baseball playoffs last night, the Mets took a 2-1 lead in their series with a 7-2 victory over the Phillies, and the Padres take a 2-1 victory in their series over the Dodgers with a 6-5 victory. Both of those Game 4s will play today. Phillies and Mets is your early game with a 4:08 p.m. first pitch, and then Dodgers and Padres is your late game. In between those games, we'll have games 3 of the other series. Guardians at Tigers, game 3 is your earliest game, 2:08 first pitch, and then Yankees Royals game 3 also tied up at 1 apiece, 6:08 for your first pitch tonight. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
8:36 in the morning. It's the opening drive on 101 ESPN with Matt Rocchio. I'm Danny Mack, and Randy has stepped out of the studio, and we welcome Nick to the conversation, who will take on Randy. Hello, Nick. Good morning to you.
What's crappening?
Wow. What's happening?
I liked it.
What's happening is what you meant to say, I think.
That
Nick,
is what I said.
yeah, well, good luck against Randy. Nick, have you ever fought Randy in the fight?
Yeah, Randy beat me last year in a tiebreaker. Where the question was the amount of NBA teams when it first launched.
Oh.
Do you want baseball? Do you want hockey? You want football? What do you want?
I'm a hockey guy, but I'm down for whatever.
Sorry, my bad.
There's a lot of baseball here, a little football.
I got yelled at yesterday for not having any baseball, and we had 2 hockey yesterday, so I'm sorry.
I'm not going to yell at you.
Okay, Nick, here we go with question 1. Not counting the Dodgers in the shortened 2020 season, which club is the last to win the World Series after finishing the season with the best record? Is it the Red Sox, the Astros, or the Cubs?
I'm going to say Astros.
Final answer?
Yeah.
On to question 2.
Let's go back to 2013. Who scored the game-winning run in Game 3 of the 2013 World Series following the controversial obstruction call at third base? Was that Matt Adams, Yadier Molina, or Alan Craig?
Let's go with Alan Craig.
Final answer, Nick?
Yep.
On to question 3. Who was at the plate and hit into the fielder's choice that led to that moment at third base? Was it John Jay, Pete Kozma, or Colton Wong?
Colton Wong.
Final answer?
Yep.
On to question 4.
Across the 3-year run of the greatest show on turf from 99, 2000, and 2001, which Rams defensive player led the team with 16 total interceptions? Was that Todd Light, Dre Bly, or Dexter McCleon?
You would think it would be Todd Light was our best corner at the time. Dre Bly was a playmaker. I really don't even know. I'm gonna go against my better judgment and say Dexter McCleon.
Final answer, Nick?
Yep.
All right, let me go grab Randy.
Nick, how you feeling?
Well, there's a 100% chance that I did not 100% know any of those answers.
I'm gonna take your word on it. One, you're a pretty good source on that one, so I'll take your word on it.
Yeah, I did my best.
Well, you did pretty good, Nick. I'll let you in on a little secret. You didn't do too bad, and we're going to bring in Randy Carricker here. Randy, what was the diet that got you ready for this match today?
Grapes and Propel.
Wow, just finely tuned athlete.
Absolutely, he is.
Try to be.
Randy, say good morning to Nick.
Nick, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, Randall.
It is great to have you with us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing.
Thank you.
Are you ready?
Ready, sir.
Not counting the Dodgers in the shortened 2020 season, which club is the last to win the World Series after finishing the season with the best record?
Let's see, not counting. So it wasn't them in 20. It wasn't 19. I'm going to guess, let's see, 18. I don't know if Boston did. 17. Houston. I think I'm going to go with the 16 Cubs because I know they did. Houston may have. But I'm going to go with the 16 Cubs just because I know that they had the best record.
Final answer?
Yes, sir.
On to question 2.
Randy, who scored the game-winning run in Game 3 of the 2013 World Series following the controversial obstruction call at third base?
Game-winning run in Game 3 following the controversial obstruction call at third base. Game 3, huh? So that was here. I will go with Alan Craig scoring that run. I'll go with Craigie.
Final answer?
Yes, sir.
Question 3. Who is at the plate and hit into the fielder's choice that led to the moment at third base?
Who is at the plate and, okay. So we're talking Game 3, 2013 World Series, at the plate, and hit Fielder's choice.
Justin
Okay.
to Justin Pedroia.
To Dustin Pedroia, okay. This is one that everybody should know, but I'll do the lifeline.
Is it John Jay, Pete Kozma, or Colton Wong?
I am going to go Yay, Kozma, or Wonger.
Must say Jay if you're going with John Jay, not Yay. I could get confused.
Could I go with the Federalist?
That's good. I like that.
I am going to go. Let's see. I will go with. I'll go with Wonger.
Final answer?
No.
No?
Hold on, let me think. Yeah, I'll go with Wonger. Yeah, because Mark was hitting at the top of that lineup. I'll go with Wonger.
Question 4, Matthew.
Across the 3-year run for the greatest show on turf, 99, 2000, and 2001, which Rams defensive player led the team with 16 total interceptions?
Let's see. 99, 2000, 2001, 16 picks. Well, wasn't Todd Light. Let's see. It was so different in 01 than it was in 99 because you had pretty much a completely different defense. I don't think London picked off that many. He was here for all of them. Todd left. I might go with Dexter McLeon being here for... Oh, no. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go with Dre Bly. I'm going to go with Dre Bly as my guy.
Final answer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Matthew, do your thing, please.
We have a winner in today's fight. Nick taking on Randy Carricker today. Randy Carricker trying to roll on with another victory. Nick faced off against you once and lost in a tiebreaker. So a little bit of a revenge here for Nick. Don't worry, Nick. You don't got to do a tiebreaker for this one. We have an outright winner. Ring that bell.
The winner and new champion of the fight, Average Joe Listener.
Congratulations, Nick. You took down Randy Carricker in the fight today. Way to go with the win.
Let's go.
Yeah.
There it is. Good.
You knew a lot more than I did. I'll tell you that.
Those were tough, Matthew.
Let's go through the questions and go through the answers. Some of them do come out tougher than I expected. Not counting the Dodgers in the shortened 2020 season, it is the 2018 Red Sox who are the last team to lead a full season and win the World Series. They won 108 games in that season. The Houston Astros were just behind them with 103, the only 100-win clubs in Major League Baseball in that 2018 season. The Cubs, where you are correct, the Cubs did also do it in 2016. Who scored the game-winning run in Game 3 of the 2013 World Series following the obstruction call at third base? It was Alan Craig, who a lot of people were confused why he was still on the base paths for that one, and who was at the plate that hit into that fielder's choice that led to the moments at third base. It was John Jay, who got picked off by Dustin Pedroia, which then led into the chaos.
I don't remember that at all.
Me neither. I do remember Alan Craig because he wasn't running well at that time. Yeah.
It's funny to me that the options for question 2, Matt Adams and Yadier Molina were the players who batted before Alan Craig. So it's made you weren't putting a lot of speed on the base pass there in that part of your lineup for the Cardinals. And across the 3-year run of 99, 2000, and 2001, which Rams defensive player led the team with 16 total interceptions? It was in fact Dexter McLeon, who went 4 in 99, 8 in 2000, and then 4 again in 2001 for a total of 16 across those 3 years. Dre Bly had 12 across those 3 seasons for the Rams. He didn't start a lot of games as the nickel guy. I have a feeling he would have had a lot more if he would have been out there for all those snaps. So a nice 2-1 win today for Nick in the fight. That means you're going to be fighting tomorrow. Nick, thank you so much for joining the fight and joining the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Good job, Nick. Fantastic. Hey, by the way, congratulations to Josh Hooper out at Whitmore. He's coached by our buddy Bummer, and he is on his way to Augusta for the finals of the drive, chip, and putt competition. It's the Sunday before the Masters next year, and Josh Hooper making his way to Augusta for drive, chip, and putt. Congratulations to him.
And how old is he? He's got to be a young man.
Young fella, yep.
Yeah.
So congratulations
pretty cool.
to him. That'll be great. So he's on his way to Augusta, and that's to have local kids doing what they're doing in the golf world is pretty amazing.
I saw Bummer yesterday. He was coaching Incarnate Word. He does the girls team, does a hell of a job with them, and one of the nicest people going.
He's awesome.
We were there all day, and I said, Bummer, what are you going to do not being able to see the Blues? He said, man, we need to speed this thing up. Speed it up. Let's go.
There we go. That is the fight on 101 ESPN. Coming up, if you're an NFL head coach, do you really want to see a guy who's already Hall of Fame quarterback walking through your door? That's next on 101 ESPN.
It's the best time of the year. It's football season, and right now it's even better because a lot of other sports are playing in an Underdog Fantasy, where over 1 million fans got in the game across 33 states last season just by competing by selecting higher or lower. At Underdog Fantasy, you can just combine your entries with all these different sports. So now the Blues are going, we've got a Major League Baseball playoffs going, and at this point, it feels like there's a football game every single day. So there's always something to put into your entry. Today, I'm going to start off with a smaller entry. We're going to build it out throughout the day, and I'm going to start with 2 baseball plays in my entry. We're going to go with a Jose Quintana, higher than 15.5 pitching outs. I think he gets through the 6th inning in today's game. Then we're going to go Shohei Ohtani, higher than 1.5 total bases, because how are you not going to take Shohei Ohtani to at least get to second base at some point in today's game? That's Underdog Fantasy. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or to UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with the promo code ROCC, and Underdog is going to give you a free pick to use in your first Cash Champions entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That means when you deposit, you can just take that free Cash Champions pick they gave you. You can add it to the entry we just built. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code ROCC, to claim that new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Make sure you use that free pick. Must be 18 plus in President's Day when Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Consumer to play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncbgambling.org.
During the show yesterday, we learned that the New York Football Jets had fired their head coach, Robert Saleh. He thought that he had solved a lot of problems when they got Aaron Rodgers from the Packers last year.
I didn't like that one.
I didn't either.
Salva.
Yeah, not good.
But not bad.
Yeah, no, I've done better. But here's the thing, Danny. If you're an NFL head coach and you've been John Fox and you see Peyton Manning walk in and you get whacked, and Bruce Arians, even though he did win a Super Bowl, basically Brady got him whacked in Tampa Bay, and you see Nathaniel Hackett with Russell Wilson. Do you really want to have that guy that's already Hall of Famer walking through that door? Because to me, once Manning did it, all the other guys said, hey, I want that kind of power. And people would talk about how basically Peyton Manning would run the Friday practice for the Broncos. He was the offensive coordinator. And Brady saw that, talked to Manning about it, and I'm sure that's why he moved to Tampa. And I'm sure that's what Russell Wilson, certainly what Russell Wilson wanted, was that kind of power, and Rodgers sees that. If you are a head coach, do you want to give up that kind of power to a future Hall of Fame quarterback? Because all these guys have been fired.
I would. It gives me a chance to win. Now, I better be pretty secure with where I'm at with the organization. For instance, owner Woody Johnson, in comments made at NFL Honors a few days before the Super Bowl, told reporters that his football staff had seen him as mad as he could be, indicated his disgust with the offense last year, blasted the Jets for not having an adequate QB behind Aaron Rodgers. Quote, we've got all this talent, and we've got to deploy talent properly. I think they all got the message. Should we be that surprised with Saleh getting fired 5 games in?
No, the owner said, I've been thinking about this for a couple of years.
Exactly. So I had 2 things. One, does that QB give me the best chance to win? And the answer would be yes. And 2, I better be secure in who I am as a head coach.
He puts a tremendous amount of pressure on you, and you don't have any control because the quarterback is running the offense. And that's what's happening here. I mean, look at all the players that Aaron Rodgers brought in when he brings in Lazard. He wanted to bring in the offensive lineman. He wasn't able to do that, but he brought in Randall Cobb last year. He's brought in a bunch of guys, and it hasn't worked out. Fox, before they were able to win the Super Bowl, he did lose the Super Bowl, by the way, for the Broncos, but then he gets fired, and Kubiak winds up winning with Manning. I just wonder if the best thing is probably, and the Jets didn't do Saleh any favors by giving him Zach Wilson either. The best thing might be to have a young quarterback that you can develop and grow with as a head coach.
What about an old QB, Matthew Stafford with Sean McVay? That would be one that stands out to me.
And there's a couple of things that go into play there. Number one, you didn't need to get over the hump. You'd already been to a Super Bowl if you're the Rams. And if you're Stafford, I got the sense that Stafford just wanted to get away from losing. I don't think that he wanted the control as much as he wanted a chance just to play on a winning team because he never had that in Detroit.
Would you, as a head coach, you personally, would you give up control for a QB? I would. If I know that guy's going to get me over the hump, I'm secure in my job and who I am. Bring me the best talent that I can be surrounded with.
Yes, but I don't think that you can give up personnel decisions.
Now, that's the difference.
Right. I think you can do, and Manning, you have to have, it's got to be the right guy. Like when Manning goes and gets Brandon Stokely and his that other tight end that he had, that's different. But when a guy like Aaron Rodgers just wants to make it the old boys club, that's not good. I thought the best one of these was Brady, because Brady brought Tampa Bay something they hadn't had in the past, even under Bruce Arians. They didn't know how to win a Super Bowl. So what's he do? During COVID, he takes them into a public park, and he's working with his wide receivers, trying to make everybody better. That's the kind of guy that you need.
So you need the right situation. You got to have the right situation, and you got to have the right head coach. And we started this segment. If you're an NFL head coach, do you want to see a Hall of Fame QB walk through that door? I would. I just think that if you can surround yourself with the best talent, but to your point, they can't have personnel decisions.
Yeah, they all get fired.
Oh, yeah.
So what you got to do, if it's going to happen, you probably want it to happen when you're on your last legs anyway, and it gives you a chance to win. Aaron Rodgers gives you a way better chance to win than does Zach Wilson.
Do you feel that there was something behind the scenes with Rodgers? I do. I mean, there was more than just his performance and not getting along with his head coach. There had to be more behind the scenes, maybe what he wanted personnel-wise, to say that this is my team. And I've got one more year, maybe two. I'm going to make the decisions to put us in the best position to win.
And there's a report out there that Saleh wanted to fire Nathaniel Hackett, who is Rodgers' boy. If Rodgers gets wind of that, then he goes to the owner and says, hey, you can't get rid of my guy. Get rid of the other guy.
Wasn't it 5 minutes before he was going to fire his OC?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the decision was made for him. I don't like the idea of escorting a head coach right out the door, which they did. They wouldn't let him go to his office.
They said it's policy, but that's a stupid policy.
Yeah, I mean, let him clear it out. Let him talk to the players. Let him talk to his coaches that he basically hired.
Right.
You know, let him go out with some dignity.
Yeah. And that's the Jets are just such a non-classy organization. That's just part and parcel of what they are.
Well, speaking of class, when it comes to the Jets, I have to ask you. Let's put you guys in a scenario. You're for some reason you're in New York or probably New Jersey, and you happen to run into the owner, Mr. Woody Johnson. You walk him and you say, Mr. Johnson, I hope everything goes well for your team this year. He goes, no, don't call me Mr. Johnson. That's Ambassador Johnson. Are you immediately making fun of him to his face? Do you try to say? Do you not insult the millionaire directly to his face, or are you laughing and going, okay there, champ, I'll see you later there, Johnny boy? Because that's kind of how my reaction would be.
And when they didn't win in Europe,
yes,
he was not happy. The ambassador was not happy.
Credit Eric Mangini, who was on ESPN earlier in the week, and he said that Saleh could be in trouble if they lose the game in London because Ernie Johnson was going to be around his friends from when he was the ambassador to the UK. Woody Johnson, excuse me, was going to be around his friends from when he was the ambassador to the UK, and it was going to be embarrassing if they lost, which obviously they did. I'm 100% on that story. I'm with Eric Mangini on that.
Let's see.
Makes sense.
314.
Are
that's
you calling
why
him ambassador?
Oh no, I'm not.
No, I'm not going to do that. Let's see. That's why it's so bad that QBs make so much money compared to the coaches. The players get all the leverage. I think there's some truth to that, too. We've said it for a long time that if you're playing these and paying these guys big-time money, they walk into a locker room or a clubhouse and maybe they don't have respect for the coaches. They don't have respect for the head coach because they're not going anywhere. The players are not going anywhere, and they're making more money than the guy that's leading this team. I really believe in that. I think there's something to that.
There's no doubt that quarterbacks get coaches fired all the time. It happened with Dan Reeves in Denver. John Elway got him fired.
When you're watching Rodgers, do you think he's just a shell of himself? I do.
Yeah, he's not what he was.
No.
It's hard to come back from an Achilles.
And he's 40 years old. That's the other part of this, too.
Is there a sport where a coach should be making more than the players? Does that exist?
I'm with you. I mean, it's about the Jimmies and Joes, not the X's and O's. So it's a long-time statement that's made in sports. But, yeah, I agree with it. But good coaches like Tony La Russa, we were talking the other day, gets the most out of his players.
Right.
There's respect, and you have to respect the head coach or the manager.
Nick Saban was making more than his players.
That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, but that's
what?
Should it have been that way is my point? And when college in 10 years, when that's not the case anymore, will that be bad for college, or will that just kind of be the way?
That'll be interesting to see what happens.
That's true.
Coming up, we've got the Rush Hour Reset for you on 101 ESPN. Hey, back in the spring, I had a car accident. My car got totaled, and I needed a new car quickly. And so what I did was I went to autoloanpro.com. I knew I was going to use them at the very least for my financing, because autoloanpro.com isn't like a car dealership where you walk into the finance manager's office and he says, okay, we're working with 2 banks and we've got these 2 rates for you. At autoloanpro.com, they're working with more than 50 different lenders, and they're going to get you the best possible loan for your vehicle. Now, in addition to getting the best possible loan for my vehicle, I was able to get my vehicle from autoloanpro.com as well. If you go to autoloanpro.com, you see the site, they're going to have a playbook right at the top. You can download that and find out how you need to go about getting an auto loan. Plus, they've got drop-down menus if you'd like to buy a new or pre-owned vehicle. Autoloanpro.com was wonderful for me. I have my vehicle and my financing from autoloanpro.com. And if you are in the market for a vehicle, and you can make a car payment, you can get a loan from autoloanpro.com. Do what Randy did and go to autoloanpro.com.
The biggest stories of the day on the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
Brought to you by James Carlton State Farm. Are your car and home insurance rates competitive?
Find out at carltoninsurance.net.
9:05 in St. Louis. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Danny Mack, Matthew Rocchio, Randy Carricker. And next Tuesday, you can catch the opening drive live from 7 to 10 from the Rawlings Experience at Westport Plaza. Rawlings, the #1 baseball brand worldwide, is going to be revealing this year's Gold Glove Award finalists at this exclusive event. The opening drive live Tuesday morning from the Rawlings Experience at Westport Plaza for the Gold Glove Award finalists announcement. And we'll have it here on 101 ESPN, and you can get more details now at 101ESPN.com.
Do we get to unveil the Gold Glovers?
We do. The Gold Glove finalists.
Finals. Okay. Yeah. All right. Mason Wynn has got to be in that.
I would think that he'll be one of the finalists in the National League at shortstop.
Trying to think anybody else from the Cardinals.
Nope.
No, sir.
Arenado a finalist?
Yeah, I think so.
Could Goldie be a finalist at first base?
Yeah, maybe.
Christian Walker was hurt a lot this year. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I thought Arenado was better defensively this year than he was the year before.
Yeah, definitely. Freeman will be a finalist, right? Freddie Freeman before
Absolutely.
the Dodgers will be at first base as well. Speaking of Freddie Freeman and the Dodgers, they fell to the Padres last night in Game 3 of their best-of-5 National League Divisional Series. 6-5 was the final. Padres scoring 6 to put it away early. Dodgers did tally with a grand slam from Teoscar Hernandez in the third. That made it 6-5, and 6-5 was the final in the game. Solid performance from Michael King, aside from that one pitch to Hernandez. He goes 5 innings. The bullpen, though, for the Padres was stellar. Estrada with a scoreless inning. Adam with a scoreless inning. Scott with a scoreless 2/3 of an inning. And then Suarez comes on for an inning and a third save. Dodgers Walker Buehler allowed 6 runs on 7 hits in his 5 innings of work. And the Padres will have a chance to clinch the series tonight, and they're going to send Dylan Cease to the mound against undetermined for L.A.
Fernando Tatis, 4 home runs in 5 games in this postseason. The bullpen of San Diego, their strength, retired the last 16 batters. You had Miguel Rojas on a tailor-made double play for the Dodgers. Couldn't turn that key double play. And after watching last night, I just got to think that it needs to be reviewable, obstruction and interference.
Yeah,
there was a key play with San Diego. I think it was Machado running from first to second. He's halfway on the infield, it seemed like, and it turned the game. I mean, That was one of the key plays in that game. But it's not reviewable. It stays with the call on the field, and it certainly hurt the Dodgers in that game.
Meanwhile, the Mets rolled the Phillies 7-2. Alonso with a second-inning homer for New York. Winker with a fourth-inning homer. Then Marte with an RBI hit that made it 4-0 in the sixth inning. In the seventh, Iglesias with an RBI hit as well. And the Mets win at 7-2. The big story of the game was Sean Manaea, the starter for the Mets, who, by the way, is an Indiana native, and in the past had expressed interest in pitching for the Cardinals. He goes 7 innings, allows 1 run on 3 hits, strikes out 6, and walks 2. Manaea gets the win, and the Mets are within a game of eliminating the Phillies. And here we are, Dan, once again, with the lower seeds in the National League being on their way perhaps to the World Series.
Momentum, a real thing right now in baseball. Usually it's next day's starting pitcher where that can stop momentum of the opposition, but these teams that have a wild card berth, they're going on a tear. You're talking about the Mets, the Padres, the Tigers, the Royals. Momentum is a real thing. Now, you talked about a key last night. I think a key in this series, the Phillies 6, 7, and 8 hitters are 1 for 31 with a lineup that is built on slug. You mentioned Manaea, pitches into the 8th. The key, though, in the game was the 6th inning. They had Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, back-to-back walks. Bryce Harper coming up. He strikes out on 3 pitches. Castellanos hits into a double play. They're just not hitting, and you anticipate the big guys to come through, and that's not happening with Philly.
And Carlos Mendoza left Manaea in to handle those guys. And like you said, and the shot from Castellanos was a shot.
It was.
It was a 4-6 double play, but he got out of it and pitched great. So today, at 2 o'clock this afternoon, St. Louis time, Guardians and Tigers. That game is on TBS, and it's Alex Cobb and the Tigers as yet undecided for their starting pitcher. Then at 4 o'clock on FS1, Phillies and Mets, Suarez against the former Cardinal Quintana. And Suarez, great in the first half, not as great in the second half for Philadelphia. Then the Yankees play the Royals at 6. Clark Schmidt, who was not good in September for the Yankees, will be opposed by Seth Lugo, who has been great all year for Kansas City. And then at 8 o'clock tonight, Dodgers and Padres. Dodgers undecided on a starting pitcher. The Padres determining last night that Dylan Cease is going to be their starter on short rest.
Couple that with their bullpen. That's a tough team to beat right now. And at home, the way that they have played and the crowds at Petco Ballpark, I kind of think that it's going to be the Mets and San Diego in the National League Championship Series. A couple of the teams that have just had that momentum and playing so well.
And Dan, I think reasonably, we look at the value of a manager and say, well, a manager doesn't do much over 162 games. But at this time of year, a guy like Mike Schilt, he ramps, and he's always an intense guy, right? But that team sure reflects his intensity and competitiveness.
And fundamentally sound. We talk about that. They put the ball in play. And you talk about a manager. I thought the Phillies made a mistake, and Rob Thompson is very good. He's excellent, and he's been good this year. I thought he stuck with Nola a little too long, and I thought Alvarado was a little too long in that game. And that's something, you know, when you got winner-take-all kind of games, you cannot mess that up. And it's a situation now where their backs are against the wall, so to speak, and they need a win. They need 2 just to survive and move on. So I just thought those are a couple of the things that happened in that Phillies game yesterday.
The Blues, after falling behind 2-0 in the second period, rallied on goals by Jordan Kyrou on the power play, Philip Broberg, and then Kyrou again. They knock off Seattle in their opener by a score of 3-2. Blues at San Jose tomorrow night for their second game of the season. Their home opener is next Tuesday. And, of course, you'll hear all the action right here on 101 ESPN. So there you have it. That's today's Rush Hour Reset. Next up, as the NFL season heads toward Week 6, which preseason favorites are we out on, and who has surprised us? Which projected mediocres are we now sold on? That's next on 101 ESPN. Hey, guys, if you're feeling like you've lost your edge, if your energy and focus and drive aren't what they used to be, it's time to get back on track, and you can do so right here in St. Louis with the local clinic, Mentality Health, your local experts in testosterone replacement therapy. You can find clinics in both Chesterfield and South County, and you can visit Mentality today at lowtusa.com. At lowtusa.com, your first step towards reclaiming your vitality, getting back that physical stamina to be able to walk 18 holes of golf or get through that workout or get through that night of coaching your kids' soccer or basketball teams. It really is a game changer for you. Some of the key benefits include, unlike online-only services, Mentality offers in-person consultations with board-certified physicians who've treated over 25,000 men, plus an FDA-approved treatment that's safe, effective, and tailored to your specific needs. Mentality's treatments help you regain energy, boost mental clarity, and enhance your overall performance. It's Mentality. Check them out now and get started at lowtusa.com. Headed towards week 6 of the NFL season, and some teams that got off to, we thought would get off to better starts are not performing at a very high level right now. And there are some teams that we thought would be mediocre that are above mediocre. I think one of those teams, Dan, for me right now, teams that I didn't think would be there that now I think can be all year long, the Atlanta Falcons. The perfect spot for Kirk Cousins to land was there, and he's elevated their young talent. Drake London's playing like he never has before. Kyle Pitts now and then is making a play. They've got Bijan Robinson. Their offensive line is pretty good. And defensively, when they added Matthew Judon and Jeffrey Simmons during training camp, they really upgraded. So I think Atlanta is a better team than I thought they would be. I've got two of them here in the NFC. I also think Seattle now is going to win the NFC West.
Really?
Yep.
So do they win Thursday against San Francisco?
Yep, I think they do. San Francisco is a mess. They've played so many playoff games in addition to the regular season games since 2019. I think that that's caught up with them.
How about Washington? That's the team that I did not expect to, and I would imagine a lot of people out there agree with me, but Jaden Daniels, not only the rookie of the year, I think you make a case that he's the MVP of this league. He has been fantastic. And so the team I'm going with right now would be the Washington Commanders. And just, I just didn't expect them to come out of the gates like they have.
Dan Quinn is a good head coach. As it turns out, the Falcons made a mistake in firing Dan Quinn. He does everything well. He delegates well. He implements a philosophy for the team. He's a great front man for the team. He's a great talker. He's got tons of energy. When you're trying to rebuild like they are, you need a guy like that, and I think they made a great choice. And by the way, Bob Myers, the former general manager of the Golden State Warriors, was a big part of that process. And he said, we need a guy with energy and competitiveness, kind of like Steve Kerr, and that's what they found in Dan Quinn.
Would you count out the Cincinnati Bengals just yet? They're 1-4. Played the Ravens tough over the weekend. I just can't count them out just yet.
I can't either. I can't put them on the outside. I was thinking the exact same thing. I can put Miami there. Miami was a playoff team last year, and without Tua, I can say that Miami is not going to be a playoff team. They're going to be on the outside looking in. And I think that a team that a lot of people thought, and I'm just projecting here down the road, I think a lot of people that thought would be a Super Bowl contender, the Cowboys, they can't stop the run. And if you can't stop the run, ultimately that's going to catch up to you. You're going to get pounded more and more and more. So I don't think the Cowboys are going to make the playoffs this year.
One other team that I wanted to throw out there, New Orleans, especially after their start. I got 7 coaches on the hot seat after Robert Saleh gets let go yesterday.
Jeez.
I got 7.
My gosh, dude.
You ready? I mean, I'm just cutting guys. I'm getting rid of people right and left.
Like a full van with the seat warmers on high.
Okay, Kevin Stefanski.
Okay, it makes sense.
I could see that.
Yep.
Nick Sirianni of Philly.
Yeah, ask Philly fans.
Antonio Pierce of Vegas. Doug Peterson in Jacksonville.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dave Canales with Carolina. Dennis Allen with the Saints after their start.
Agreed.
And my final one is you mentioned Dallas cannot stop the run. They're not used to getting rid of coaches, but Mike McCarthy in Dallas. I got 7 guys that are on the hot seat right now.
That's amazing.
Is that too many?
No, I think those are all reasonable, and I could see them all going in, especially with the teams that have a history of firing guys one and done. And the one team that I thought would be better, but has shocked me by being the best team in the NFC is the Minnesota Vikings.
Absolutely.
I thought that they would be better because I really like when Kyle Shanahan gets his hands on a quarterback. And I kind of thought that Darnold might beat out J.J. McCarthy anyway. But I loved when they signed Aaron Jones. I thought they dramatically upgraded at the running back position. I know they lost Danielle Hunter, but they've still got a lot of playmakers on defense. I like a lot of things about the Vikings and Kevin O'Connell, their head coach. And I think they're the best team in the NFC.
Something I want to watch today. I'm going off the beaten path. Pat McAfee has Aaron Rodgers on the show at 12:15. What do you want to hear from Aaron Rodgers? What do you think he says? Does he take any responsibility for Saleh getting fired with the Jets?
I hope he does.
Yeah, like camera opens and slowly Aaron Rodgers just draws his thumb across his throat and just goes, good. That's all I just want. And then fade to black.
I don't think it's going to happen that way.
But I would love it.
You would love it. Just take responsibility.
He'll say the exact same thing Woody Johnson said, right? He'll say, we had a discussion, but we didn't talk about Robert.
Probably right. But I do want to see him take some responsibility because this is his team. He's the GM. He's the head coach. He's the president of the team.
Well, the responsibility that he should take is for his play. And he can say, hey, these last 2 games, you can't lose to Denver. And then you lose in
9
London.
points against Denver.
Right. Those are games that we have to win, and it's my responsibility to win those games.
Now, 2 names you did not mention, and they shouldn't be on the list, but nonetheless, maybe the 2 biggest disappointments and biggest surprises of being below 500 teams has to be Zach Taylor, Cincinnati Bengals, and Kyle Shanahan, San Francisco 49ers. I'm not completely out on either of these teams. Am I crazy not to completely be selling the farm yet?
Well, we mentioned Cincy. I think the 49ers, it's a matter of injuries. And I just think that they're so beat up now. And they're older. I mean, Deebo Samuel isn't the player that he was. Trent Williams is still a great player, but not the player that he was. And you didn't have Ayuk for the entire scope of training camp, so he gets started literally on day 1 of the season. And you don't have McCaffrey, who's your best player. There's a lot of things going wrong there for Kyle Shanahan, and I think a lot of it has to do with the volume of games that they played over the last 5 years.
I got to wonder about Chicago a little bit. Just a little bit. I mean, Caleb Williams looked so much better over the weekend. He was getting pass protection, and he's able to find his receivers. I think that could be a surprise team in the second half as he progresses. He's got to progress. He's got to be the number 1 pick that you expected. He gets thrown into the fire with game number 1. You're going to take your lumps with a young kid. I don't know. I think the Bears have a chance to be better, certainly, than what they've shown, but a lot of it falls on the shoulders of Caleb Williams.
And in that division, they're the 4th best team.
Yep.
They're not better than Green Bay, not better than Detroit, not better than Minnesota.
I agree.
So that what they need to do is just grow this year, especially because they've got a young offensive line. They need to get those guys going and then be ready to take off next year.
You are wearing an Arizona Cardinals hat, so I'm curious what you think about the Arizona Cardinals. They after what happened in San Francisco, maybe they turn the corner?
I think they're kind of like the St. Louis Cardinals. I think they are mediocre.
Mediocre at best.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sold on the little fella playing quarterback.
Kyler Murray.
Yeah. I like Gannon, their head coach. I like the staff that he has put together. They've got some nice players, but I don't think that they need a running back. They need to get Harrison involved. They need more explosiveness. They've got some nice things going for them, but they'll need another offseason of adding talent before they can really become a playoff contender.
So, Matthew, you're thinking that I'm too much on the firing
I think
the
Dave
7.
Canales is a little rough. I mean, the guy's got 5 games into his head coaching career.
Frank Reich last year.
I know, but the point is you can't just keep firing one-year coaches and expect any kind of difference in that franchise.
If you're David Tepper, you can.
But look at what Canales did last year in Tampa Bay. I understand that what you have the 5 games, you have the first 3 games, which I think is really the bad thing because of Bryce Young. Then you win a game with Andy Dalton. But look at what he did last year as the offensive coordinator with Tampa Bay, and how we all talked about how incredible it was to get that season out of Baker Mayfield. You can't I'm not saying that Dave Canales needs to have his full 3 or 4 year contract, whatever it is, but you got to at least maybe give the guy year 2.
2018, David Tepper's first year as owner. Ron Rivera is the head coach. After that, the next year, Rivera and Perry Fewell. Matt Rule and Steve Wilkes. Last year, Frank Reich and Tabor. I don't even remember Tabor.
I don't either.
And then Dave Canales. I mean, that's a one-and-done program. David Tepper doesn't care about what you did last year. What are you doing for me right now?
What do you do with Bryce Young? I mean, that's the other thing. Trade deadline is coming. I got to move him out. I mean, there's no reason to keep him there if he's not the future and he gets cleanup time, mop-up time, and late in games he hasn't progressed. See what another team wants and move him out. Move him out right now. Give him a chance to just get a clean slate. You start with a clean slate and you move him out. But you guys aren't in.
The problem that I have there is you just need bodies. So if Dalton gets hurt, which he has a propensity to do, then what do you do if Bryce Young isn't your quarterback?
Don't you think Canales was brought in to fix him? And if he's not fixed, then that you move in a different direction.
That's part of it. You want to give him time to work with him, but also you cannot bite the bullet of getting a 5th-round pick for Bryce Young right now. I know it's stupid, and you don't want to put good money after bad, throw the baby out with the bathwater, fine. But I cannot see them actually biting the bullet and trading for a 5th-round pick for a guy that they moved first-rounders to then draft first overall.
There's got to be more than a 5th-rounder, though.
Why would a team give up more than that?
And it hasn't happened
the beholder.
It hasn't happened with any of the other high picks. Didn't happen with Zach Wilson.
Yeah, that's
Trey
true.
Lance.
Yeah, that's true.
It just doesn't happen.
Yeah,
I'm not giving you. I mean, if you're like the Rams, who if Stafford gets hurt, what are you doing back there? You want to have some talent and a really talented offensive coordinator who knows how to work with quarterbacks. But if you're the Rams, why would I give you any draft capital for him?
Takes one to give him a shot,
true.
And he's one of the top picks in the draft 2 years ago. They say they can fix him. A lot of teams feel they can fix a certain player if they get him in that system, and maybe they're thinking that with Bryce Young. I don't know.
It could be.
Somebody says 618. Randy, are you a heightist? It seems like you believe all athletes should be at least 6'4" to be good.
No, that's not what I think at all. I think that if I were running an NFL team, though, I would want my quarterback to be between 6'1" and 6'5".
Got to be able to see over the offensive line. That would help.
Yeah. And I don't want a 6'6" quarterback either. So there you go.
Brock Osweiler led the league in batted passes one year. He was 6'8".
There you go. I think Justin Herbert might be 6'6".
He is.
But you don't have a great history of quarterbacks taller than 6'5". So, between 6'1" and 6'5", between 200 and 235 pounds, and I want a guy that started at least 30 college games.
Jaden Daniels, MVP. Would you give him the MVP right now?
He's the MVP of the league right now.
I think he is, too. What about Bryce Young to Miami? They're going to need help if Tua doesn't come back.
After the season, that'd be an interesting move to make.
That makes sense.
Yeah. By the way, the only 2 quarterbacks on the roster for the Panthers right now are Dalton and Young. So they don't even have another guy.
Wow.
So
need help.
Great. Let's see if they have a practice squad guy. I don't believe they do. So, they would have to go outside the organization to – oh, no, they do have. Jack Plummer is on their practice squad.
Not Jake?
Not Jake, Jack. It might be a son. So there you have it. NFL up on and down on. Next on 101 ESPN, we're going to talk to our buddy Jaime Rivers about the Blues here on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Last night in the season opener, the Blues come away with a victory over the Seattle Kraken 3-2 thanks to their comeback in the second. They were down early in the second period, but 3 goals in just under 2 minutes, including 2 from Jordan Kyrou, gave them the victory. Last night in Major League Baseball playoffs, it was the Mets over the Phillies to take a 2-1 lead in that series, and the Dodgers over the Padres 6-5 to also take a 2-1 lead in their series. Those Game 4s will both be played today. Game 4 from Phillies and Mets is the earlier of the two, 4:08 p.m. Then Dodgers as Padres is your last game on your baseball slate today. Earlier on in the day, with the AL side, it's Guardians and Tigers Game 3 at 2:08 and Yankees-Royals Game 3 at 6:08. Both of those series tied up at 1 apiece. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
We're talking everything St. Louis Blues as we head into the Blues booth on 101 ESPN. Presented by Boardwalk Hardwood Floors. Find your perfect new floor at boardwalkhardwood.com.
Danny Mac and Randy Carricker. It's the opening drive on 101 ESPN. The Blues back in action tomorrow night in San Jose against the Sharks after they won their opener yesterday in Seattle in the afternoon by a score of 3-2. Fell behind 2-0, and then Jordan Kyrou with a power play goal, Philip Broberg with a tally, Kyrou with another, and the Blues win at 3-2. We head to the celebrity line and out west right now, and our buddy Jaime Rivers joins us. Good morning, Rivs. How you doing?
Good, guys. How are you doing today?
Everything's great. What were you thinking in the first half of that game?
So, first period I actually liked from the Blues. I thought they got in on the forecheck pretty good. I thought they created opportunities. Kyrou hit the crossbar, could have easily been a goal. But beginning of the second period, didn't love it. I mean, that's for sure. You know, they've gone an extended period of time without getting a shot on net, without creating offensive zone time. Drew Bannister, he toyed with the Buchnevich-Thomas-Kyrou line. You could tell he was looking for some kind of a spark. And, Randy, the biggest thing that I noticed from a positive standpoint is, if you remember the beginning of last year, the Blues lost a number of games because the power play just couldn't score. I mean, it was abysmal. And last night, you need a power play goal. You get the first power play of the game, and you capitalize. Jordan Kyrou scores, and that changes everything. And that takes the Blues and changes the momentum. And after that, they didn't look back. So that's how important special teams can be.
How about Nathan Walker mixing it up? Toropchenko gets in a scrum. What do you think that did for the momentum of the team?
You know, it's funny, Danny, you bring that up, because I was sitting up top in the booth, and I looked at Chris Kerber, and I was like, they need something to happen here. They need somebody to get a big hit. Like, you got to change the direction of where this momentum is headed. And it was awesome. You know, those guys go out there. Radek Faksa, Toropchenko, and Nathan Walker. They're the three guys that changed the energy of that game last night by just creating chaos. And I mean, the one goal is called back because of an offside. We're trying to figure out if it was offside or onside. Then you look down the other end of the ice, there's 12 or 14 skaters on the ice. There's 2 or 3 scrums going on. There's Toropchenko fighting somebody out there. I mean, it was reminiscent of the old days. And I was like, you know what? I like this. And the team responded. Both times that it happened, the team responded, goes out, and they win a hockey game. So it's great, because that goes to show those guys that their efforts, weren't ignored, or that they weren't noticed, or something like that.
Obviously, the key to the Blues this season is going to be the great Jordan Binnington, and he was superb yesterday, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was rock solid. You always wonder, like, okay, last year was great. Like, how's it going to start this year? And he was rock solid. He was playing pucks early, good rebound control, a couple of highlight reel saves early in that game. And he probably liked the one wrist shot from the point back, but he didn't see it very well, that's for sure. But after that, he closed the door. And that's, we were talking to Dylan Holloway after the game, and we asked him about Jordan Binnington, and he just said, look, once we got up by a goal, like, we knew, like, we're good. It's on lockdown. Nobody's beating Binner. So that team has a tremendous amount of confidence in their goaltender. And, I mean, as they should. He's a fantastic goalie.
I'm curious, Rivs, with your experience, many, many years in the NHL, I just want to get your opinion on this. Broberg and Falk, I just thought that they were outstanding, that pairing last night. Did you feel the same way?
Yeah, what it does, Danny, it creates a whole new dynamic this year because you got Leddy and Parayko out there that they're your shutdown pair. And then after that last year, like, okay, who can we get to play with Falk? And then Falk was injured. He wasn't playing 100% either. So there was a dip there. Last night it was evident that there's no dip. Like Broberg and Falk, they're really, really good together. The chemistry's good. They play off each other very well in the defensive zone. I love Broberg's game. He's got a little more nastiness than I thought he had. You know, talking to people from Edmonton, they said, "Oh, you know, he's good, he's solid, but he can bring a little more physicality to his game." I thought he was great last night. He had a couple of hits. He had some moments where he's mixing it up with guys. He skates the puck so well. Justin Falk is aggressive out there. He's shooting the puck, and I mean, what a play on that goal that Broberg scored. Everybody in the building thought Justin Falk was going to try and wire that thing to the net. He slides it over to Broberg, and Broberg shows some offensive ability and puts that thing in the back of the net. It's one game, right? One regular season game for them together. But I tend to think that most of the time, pairings on defense, like the more games you play together, the better it gets. So hopefully that's the case. But I was really happy with what I saw last night.
Last year, one of the big reasons the Blues made the playoffs is because they didn't handle a team like San Jose. And I think tomorrow's a key early season game for the Blues. You need to kind of set the tone for teams that you're better than, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, it's weird, Randy, because following the game last night, just kind of talking to members of the team and whatnot, and just talking about the San Jose type games last year, it's weird to say the team is like uber focused on playing a terrible team, or I shouldn't say that. I'm playing a lesser team in San Jose coming up in 2 nights because they know the players are aware of, you know, their shortcomings last year against opponents that they should have beaten. And it's funny to think that they're so focused on it right now for the game in San Jose just to make sure that they don't have a letdown. Now, you never know what happens in these games. And San Jose did a good job in the offseason of putting together a better team. But, yeah, this Blues team, these guys are aware that last year they fumbled the ball with some of the teams they should have beaten.
It looked like Drew Bannister was trying to find something to get going, some kind of spark. And I said it would take 40 games for Buchnevich to move up to a winger and get on that top line. It took about 90 seconds, it seemed like. So the Blues get Buchnevich to that top line and plays a wing. Do you think we're going to see that at times this year, just the maneuvering of those top two lines?
Yeah, I think so. I actually don't. I don't hate the strategy. I mean, when you have a team that has a trio of players like Kyrou, Thomas, and Buchnevich that play so well together, I mean, the chemistry was instant, again, like right away. I think when you have that opportunity, there's certain times in the game where you can do that. You know, like you're behind by a goal or it's a big moment in the game, face off in the offensive zone, the other team maybe has their fourth line out there. Why not say, hey, you know what? Let's go. Thomas, Buch, Kyrou, get out there. You might be able to steal a goal every now and then just because the matchup isn't favorable for the other team, and it's an offensive zone faceoff, and those guys play so good together. I don't know if it happens to be a permanent thing at some point because, you know, we are still dealing with the Buchnevich experiment at center ice. But it's nice to know that Drew Bannister's not afraid to do that, and he knows that it's not going to affect the players to have a couple of shifts away from their other line mates to go back to playing together, and then for Buch to go back to playing center. I mean, it's a nice luxury to have.
Rivs, great to have you with us. Have a great day. Where are you guys? Are you guys still in Seattle, or have you made your way to San Jose yet?
We are in lovely San Jose, and hopefully the sun's shining today.
Have a great time, and we'll talk soon. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, guys, take care.
That's Jaime Rivers, Blues analyst on Bally and here on 101 ESPN for the first few games of the season. He'll be with Chris Kerber tomorrow night.
Yep, he was filling in and did a very good job. I was listening to a very good majority of the game and outstanding. Slipped right in there on the radio side and didn't miss a beat. You know, Jamie brought up faceoffs. I thought that was a key in the game, too. Buchnevich was better. And you had Thomas winning faceoffs. I mean, I know it gets overlooked a little bit, but, man, it's so important to win a faceoff, control the puck, get it out of your zone, move forward. It's just an important thing. And I thought their faceoff percentage was much better than we've seen, or at least some of the individuals that we've seen in years past.
That's Dan. I'm Randy. Coming up, we're going to head down the stretch with Rocc and Roll here on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you're going to have an outdoor project done at your house, get it done by the best people in the business at Chesterfield Fence and Deck. Their number is 800-300-4054. You can find Chesterfield Fence and Deck on the web at chesterfieldfence.com. They do absolutely wonderful work on outdoor projects. Whether you do need a fence or a deck, maybe you've got a new puppy at the house or coming to the house and you need to keep that puppy in the backyard, get one of the decks from Chesterfield Fence and Deck, and it'll do what my fence has done for years. I've got 3 dogs, and they all stay in the beautiful Chesterfield Fence and Deck fence that we got many years ago. But if you're looking for maybe an addition to make your house a little bit more valuable or a little bit more functional, get a sunroom or a screen room, maybe get your deck upgraded or get a new deck from Chesterfield Fence and Deck. They are award-winning. They've been in business for 56 years here in St. Louis. They have an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau. It's the company I use for home improvements, and it's the company I hope you'll use as well. It's Chesterfield Fence and Deck on the web at chesterfieldfence.com. Call 800-300-4054. Chesterfield Fence and Deck, the sign you have the very best.
Let's rock today.
It is time for Rock and Roll. By the way, we got a text here. We were supposed to send to JR, Jeremy Rutherford, and Jaime Rivers news about a burger available in Seattle. But when they go to Seattle in April, there's a great burger place, apparently, and we have word of it. So we thank for the information from the burger expert.
Best burger in St. Louis. What do we got?
Oh,
High Point is really good.
High Point's always good.
Great.
Max has been great for years.
I haven't been to Max. I've never been there.
Me neither.
I've only been to once the new location, but man, I didn't even live in Dogtown, but I used to drive over to there when they were in the Tam Ave bar space. I used to drive over and get a burger like
Village
once
Bar.
a week.
Village Bar is
so
really good.
I mean, of course, Carl's. I mean, God bless them. Do I have cash with me? I might go get Carl's today if I have cash.
Well, there you go. See, now we're learning about stuff. Burgers.
Yeah, go get Carl's. It's incredible.
Okay. Carl's is great.
A lot of great burgers everywhere. I have a quick question. I understand the idea of retiring in this country has been destroyed for most people. But why is it that the rich people can't just retire? We saw it with a number of people. Tom Brady had Gisele Bündchen a lot of money, and he decided to come back to football and then ruin the Gisele Bündchen factor of that. Adam Wainwright retired and immediately went to become a broadcaster and a country music star. And now Jurgen Klopp, who when he retired from Liverpool said, I am out of energy. I have nothing left. And then 6 months later, he takes a new job as the head of global soccer at Red Bull. Why is it that people just can't retire?
I think there's a couple of things. I think, number one,
it's addicting.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Take a guy like Tony La Russa, who is so intensely competitive that he has to have a W or an L next to his name every single day, right? He's just a guy that is so competitive that he's never going to stop competing. He traveled in this season. He traveled with the White Sox the whole year. I think the other thing, Dan, you use the word addicting. I think for a lot of people, they don't know what else they would do. I remember going to spring training and seeing like an 85-year-old Jim Davenport down in the Giants dugout. And I wondered to myself, why is he still doing that at the age of 85? And my assumption is that for people like that, they have no idea what else they would do if they weren't doing baseball or soccer or whatever it might be.
I feel bad for players when they retire because it comes to a close and it just smacks you over the head. And they don't know what else to do with their lives. It's starting the second chapter of their lives. And if they're not involved in broadcasting or affiliated with a team or coaching, it's like, what am I going to do now? And that's tough.
But, I mean, the guys in the 80s and 90s were competitive, and I feel like we didn't see this as much. I feel like there wasn't as much of this waffling of like, oh, I'm going to retire, but I'm going to immediately find a way to make sure that I don't have to go actually retire and just kick back and go play golf all day.
Bill Walsh retired, wound up coaching at Stanford, wound up becoming the GM of the 49ers.
That's a good example.
Bill Parcells retired 3 times, I think. They always came back.
And you can't replace the itch of retiring. Or competition when you retire. You just can't replace it. There's nothing like it in the world when these guys are the best in the world at what they do and trying to figure out the itch of being competitive. There's nothing that fills that void.
Think about our guy, Mark Bulger, who made more money than he can ever spend, and he's down in Nashville and tries to get together with Jared Allen and Keith Bullock and another guy and try to become an Olympic curler.
Yeah.
You know, some people just can't scratch that itch. I've told the story a million times, but I love it. It's asking Chris Carpenter about playing golf. And I said, is that taking care of your competitive outlet? Does that quench your competitive thirst? And I'll never forget. He looks down, pauses, looks up and says, dude, you got to remember, I was pitching in the World Series.
Right.
Nothing is going to scratch that itch.
Nothing. Let's see. The 618 says people are more in shape now and take care of their bodies so they can keep going. And that's fine. Physically, you're fine, but mentally, the edge of being competitive is gone. Tim McCarver was great in this. Tim McCarver said that when he retired, that stage of his life was over, and now it was time to become a great broadcaster. So you could reflect on your playing career, but he took that as part of the competitive itch to be the best at what he could do. And it did fill that void. There's nothing like playing, but it did fill the void a little bit.
Yeah, Klopp is interesting, though, because he had a chance to be the head coach of the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah, he could have taken any job he wanted in the sport.
And now he says, yeah, I gotta keep doing it.
And for him, it's and I guess the difference is we probably should get better at realizing when people are just burnt out and actually done. Like Dick Vermeil, I think, is a great example. After the Eagles job, that man was burnt out, and then to get him back in with the Rams, he then reaches the pinnacle. And so I understand why his reaction was what it was, and then immediately he regrets it and comes back. But I guess this one, I guess the longer ones where you've had like a year or two where you know this is going to be my final year, or even like a Jason Kelce and a Travis Kelce. Like Jason Kelce retired, immediately jumped right back into the media space, despite the fact that he could have sat back and just done New Heights, his podcast, and made plenty of money to support his family with that. He kept diving in, and I think Travis is probably going to see that and be like, oh, you can still be pretty involved without actually having to be on the field. Which I think is probably why we're watching the last season of Travis Kelce.
Yeah, look at Belichick, right?
And he wants to be back so bad that he's doing media just because he knows it gets him back.
Right. Yeah,
I think you lose your juice too if you're out too far, meaning 2 or 3 years. Not that you say you're not obsolete, but you lose the juice that you have.
You remind me of a late season of Mad Men. I don't know if you guys ever watched that show, but the incredible character Bertram Cooper at one point just goes, "Everyone wants to retire, but 3 years." And then he just points downwards. And he goes, people in this business do not survive when they don't have that every single day is pushing you to do something. And obviously sports are like that.
636, when you retire, especially when you're only in your 40s or 50s, you need to have something to do or you'll go crazy. I think there's something to that, too.
Yeah, and there's only so much golf you can play, right?
Yeah.
How about a guy like Claude Julien, who's been to the top of the mountain?
Yeah, that's a great one.
Right, 64 years old. He's been a head coach for years, 20 years in the NHL. And he comes to St. Louis to be an assistant coach.
I was watching the game yesterday and thinking about him, what it must be like to be an assistant after being at the top. You have to accept it mentally. But you're watching things on the ice that you'd probably say, I would do this differently. I would coach differently. My message to the team would be different. But yet, you're not the head coach.
Right.
You got to listen to Drew Bannister and what he wants.
Right. That's got to be hard.
It's interesting.
Yeah. I've told you this story before about Parcells. Parcells would always come down to spring training in Jupiter. And one day, KMOX wasn't broadcasting the game, so it was just me and Parcells in the radio booth. And just talking about life and coaching and stuff. And this was after the Jets, but before the Cowboys. And I said, are you going to coach again? And he said, you know what, Randy? He said, I got to do something. I just can't sit and do nothing. I can go to all the horse races I want, but I got to do something. And then I think it was the next year or maybe later that spring that he got hired by the Cowboys as their head coach.
The other thing, too, is that not necessarily do you have to coach, but if you can have some type of hand in the personnel decisions. That's the other thing that keeps the competitive juices going because that's your team.
Yeah.
You know, those are the guys that you want. You believe in what you're doing. And I've seen that, too, where guys say, just give me a chance to have an opportunity to – what's he always saying? You gave me the ingredients, but
let me. You want me to cook the dinner? Let me pick the groceries,
and that's part of it too.
Yeah,
it still keeps the competitive juices going.
Yep. Hey, we've got speaking of competitive juices, we've got the highly competitive Tim McKernan coming up here with the balloon party with T-Mac and Ajax, and then BKM Ferrario will be with you from 11 to 2, and then from 2 to 6 this afternoon. You've got the Fast Lane guys. And then the pregame at 7:30 tonight for Padres and Doyers, game number 4. Padres and Mike Schultz could be on their way to the NLCS.
Fastlane only had 30 minutes yesterday to fill.
So they've got some pent-up
Absolutely.
Probably material.
They should be ready to roll,
to.
man.
Yeah.
Ready to roll.
Blues and Sharks pregame tomorrow night at 8:30. Great job today by our producer, audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Danny Mac, you were awesome.
You too. Pleasure.
Good.
I always like it when Matthew says pleasure. Pleasure.
And we thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show. For all of us, until tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, have a spectacular hump day, St. Louis.